What up?
Yeah, welcome to Geekery Abides. This is our geek podcast, YouTube stream, whatever. It's all things, covering all things geeky outside of the Stephen King universe, basically. My name is Tad, and with me, as always, is Peter.
Hi. I forgot. I got the intro wrong. I'm used to the other show.
And I guess we're also starting here on the YouTube side first, because we actually do have an intro. that I made over the last little bit.
I haven't heard this yet.
You haven't heard it yet.
No.
So let's go ahead and hit the intro. Maybe we'll kind of start it out usually before our intros, like I just did the vocal intros. But normally we'll do this the
First.
other order. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and hit the new intro that I just made for Geekery Abides here.
He who is ashamed of his geekery has forgotten the face of Stan Lee.
You the proud, the geeky. Hello!
This is the podcast, Geekery Abides.
So there is the intro, sir.
Well done, sir. Well done. Well done.
And if you were joining us here on YouTube, you saw Peter's reaction to the whole thing. Couldn't hear him, but I could assure you.
Word.
So, yeah,
That's great.
there's a lot of AI used for such things. The music was entirely done by AI.
Really?
Yes.
That's great.
And the Frank Muller and James Earl Jones obviously were
Yeah.
AI built because they have never said those things.
Obviously.
But it worked out pretty well. So yeah, I'm happy to be having an intro now. I think that adds a little something. It felt a little bit weird.
just
Just diving
with
in,
No
yeah.
intro. Yeah.
So we're here for Geekery Abides. Welcome. This is episode 3. We are going to be covering this Scream franchise. Of course, we have a couple segments to hit before we get to our main topic. Thanks for joining us. We're here. Let's go ahead and hit some of the stuff intro-wise. Like, if you want to email us, this is different than our other podcast. With this one, you can actually email either of us directly. I have not gotten any emails yet. I don't know if you have, but I have not. So if you want to email us, you can. You can email either Peter or Tad, either one of us, at geekeryabides.com, because we are both kind of co-producing in a way in terms of the topics and stuff. So like it's every other. So I guess it's me odd, you even. So if you add like input or reactions to something directly, if you wanted to like tell me to something for Peter, you could do all that.
Or if you had something that you wanted to bring up for the next show that we always talk about what the topic is at the end of the show usually.
Yeah.
Then you can be like, oh, I have this that I want to have them include with the next show.
Yeah.
You could email the showrunner for that. Evens is me, odds is Tad.
Yep. And so again, Peter at geekeryabides.com or Tad at geekeryabides.com, which is TADD, often misspelled. So I do want to point that out. And then, so next, I guess, just diving right in. What have you been watching, reading, playing? Starting with Peter here.
I started watching 1883, the prequel show to Yellowstone,
Yeah.
which is, obviously widely popular, but also we found out that it's finishing. Season 5 will be the last Yellowstone season.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah.
So I am 6 episodes in, so I have 4 episodes left of that. We found out also that it is a one season kind of thing,
No.
one-off kind of thing,
1923 season 2.
which is season 2, but it's obviously not the same characters because it takes place in 1923, not 1883. So,
But that's a continuation. I know there's people interpreting it like that's two different shows.
but it's all one show connected. Yellowstone, back to 1883, now up to 1923, and it sounds like there's a couple other things with Taylor Sheridan in the works.
Yeah.
I also rewatched Scream 5. in anticipation for Scream 6. It's the one that I remembered the least. So I watched that.
No, you hadn't seen 5.
Yeah, I watched. Oh no, yeah, I hadn't seen 5. You're right.
Yeah.
Good call. I don't. You didn't remember 5, so you rewatched 5.
I watched 4 and 5.
Yeah, you watched 4 and 5. I hadn't remembered. I hadn't seen 5. Gosh, I don't know why I'm struggling with that. But I hadn't seen 5, so I watched 5 last weekend. We went and saw Scream 6 last night. Aside from that, the same. I'm still playing the same games. I mean, it's a long haul to get through Red Dead Redemption 2. So,
Yeah.
But I'm getting there. I'm almost done with Arthur. So that's about where I am. I just rescued John from jail. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
What about you?
So me, again, like you already kind of alluded to, I rewatched 4 and 5 for Scream and prep for 6. The 1, 2, and 3 I have pretty much memorized. 1 I have memorized. I could probably recite the whole movie verbatim. 2 I'm pretty familiar with. 3 I'm pretty familiar with.
Yeah.
Just a lesser extent than 1. But 4 and 5, I mean, I guess I can't call 4 new. It came out in 2011. That's a long time ago. But it is the newer of the series before you got to this new set. So I did want to rewatch both those to be completely ready for 6. Still chugging through Picard season 3. Poker Face finale I got to watch after this episode. As a matter of fact, the finale of that just aired on Thursday. Mayor of Kingstown's finale hits on Sunday, so I'm into that. And then The Last of Us.
I
finale.
forgot. I've been watching Mandalorian's season 3's come out.
Yeah, Mandalorian.
And I'm obviously up to date on Last of Us. Those are the two weekly drops that I'm watching currently.
Yeah. I forgot Mandalorian as well, but yes, that's obviously one I'm watching.
3 episodes now of Mandalorian, or 2 episodes?
2
so far.
I think.
2 so far?
I think it's only 2. Now you're judging my or making me try to tap into my memory a little bit.
We know that that's not a good thing to do.
And then hello, Mike and Carol. Thank you guys for joining us here. I mean, we might have Hayden at some point.
Hopefully.
Hayden might jump in. He mentioned he might jump in.
Yeah.
So
he went with us last night to see Scream 6.
he did, which is always a joy.
It's such a fun time with
to watch a horror movie with him. I still wish reaction things were a thing back in the day when I first met him, because if I would have just put a camera on him as I've gone through these horror movies, dude, I'd have
You'd be a millionaire.
I'd have 100,000 subscribers easily, because it's just people love watching people lose their mind over horror movies, and that's what Hayden was. I've desensitized the fuck out of him. He still reacts, but nowhere near. I mean, I used to bring him to some pretty mid horror movies, and he'd be screaming and swearing and all kinds of stuff. It was great. And then I'm reading still Frank Miller's Daredevil, as well as Revival, Stephen King wise. So that's what I'm reading currently.
Yeah.
Playing wise, I've been diving into Halo on the PC. It's a game especially the original trilogy. It's games I know very well, and I'm just trying to adapt to keyboard and mouse, because I've largely been a console kid most of my life. I've played computer games, but usually I play like real-time strategies and stuff that are
not like shooters, action games where it's like
a little bit of RPG. I mean, I did like the original Fallout and stuff on the PC, but I've never been one into like too heavily into PC gaming. So that's kind of what I'm playing. So
all right.
yeah, let's go ahead and jump on over to the news. So news-wise, or I guess I forgot to change the slide. There's a little underline there that shows Tad and Peter. So it's just showed Peter the whole time. But I just went over my stuff. So next one, the first one, some Penguin news. So the Penguin is in development at HBO Max.
Oh, the show.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Cobblepot. Good man there.
No.
Trying to help out Gotham and do all kinds of good things for his city, right, sir?
No.
So it's in development with HBO Max, and they have just added a very legendary actor, Clancy Brown. You would know Clancy Brown as the Byron Hadley from Shawshank Redemption, the guard. He's been in a lot of stuff, but he has been cast as Salvatore Maroni.
Oh, so we are going to get the Maroni stuff with it. Because everything in the Batman was like, oh, Maroni's locked up and everything like that.
Falcone,
So
yeah.
Falcone's out.
Yeah.
And that's Turtello.
Turturro.
Turturro.
Yeah. Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
Yeah, no, nobody fucks with the Jesus.
Yeah, or the one that gets turned into a toad in Oh Brother Art Thou.
Yeah. We thought you was a toad.
Yeah, so Clancy Brown, huge legendary character actor, been in a lot of things, but I just know that Shawshank is probably his most iconic role.
Yeah.
Is there any debate on that?
I'm literally looking him up because I'm like, what else has he been in?
He's
aside
been in
from
a
that?
shitload.
So.
Yeah, he's been in a lot. I'm struggling to think of anything outside of, because again, Shawshank's just so big, but he's been in a lot. But yeah, so he is going to be playing Mr. Maroney in,
All right.
in the Penguin show.
I'm down.
Figured you would appreciate that. I didn't know if you would actually would have seen that or not. I know you're plugged into some Batman subreddits and communities, so I was like, this may have been something that already crossed your
Yeah.
familiarity.
Not
but-
as much with like they don't post as much with like castings and stuff like that.
Okay.
Every now and then they will, but for the most part,
Yeah. That's going to be weird seeing Mr. Clancy Brown on the other side of the bars. 'Cause I assume he's going to be in prison.
yeah.
You know, and we all know from mafia movies and stuff, prison doesn't usually stop people from having a lot of power. So that's one news bit. The next one here, what could have been? So this is reporter Jeff Schneider, and he said, quote, "The following project was commissioned by former DC Films president Walter Hamada. It was, as far as I know, never reported. As of this minute, the project is in development at DC. Daniel Casey, the writer of Fast 9, wrote Batman Beyond the movie. And I don't believe this is probably still in development, but it just hasn't been officially like killed or canceled. So I wouldn't hold your breath that this is actually going to happen. But the catch was that it was live action. Because we do know there's actually a Batman Beyond being in development for animated currently, but this was actually there was work being done on a live action Batman Beyond, because that is what Christina Hudson was working on. This is him talking again. It was it was an animated Batman Beyond, and it was to be the Let's see. Oh, the catch is that it wasn't a live action. I'm sorry. So this was an animated one. That I misread that.
No worries.
And it's been a minute since I wrote this down, because now I'm just like, every time I see stuff, I just throw it in the notes, and stuff. So it was an animated one, and basically what they says is this was to be DC's answer to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, okay.
Was going to be Batman Beyond. So it would have been an animated movie. It technically is still in development, but with the change of leadership at DC, who knows?
It's most likely not going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a few Batman things. I'm not leaning into Batman necessarily, because I would.
You should. He's such a great superhero.
I would do no such thing. Let's see. What's in the chat here? Missing your input during TTP. Is the earlier time not working out for you? Oh, Mike.
Talking to Mike. Yeah.
Oh, did Mike say something?
No.
Okay. So next up, this is an interesting one. So, and I put on the screen, did Dave Filoni direct that scene from Rogue One?
Okay.
So Freddie Prinze Jr. seems to think so. We all know what scene we're talking about, right? What's the scene from Rogue One?
The hallway.
Yes. Freddie Prinze is, which he voiced Kanan Jarrus in Rebels. He says that Dave Filoni did not, in fact, debut his live-action directing The Mandalorian, but that he was, but he in fact directed that scene from Rogue One. He does say that he is not sure if he is allowed to say it. He said this on a podcast, but he said that Dave Filoni directed the Darth Vader scene in Rogue One. Now, to be fair, Filoni has said that he the opposite back in the day. So he has said before, Filoni's been on record as saying that he has visited the set for Rogue One and The Force Awakens, but that he did not play around with cameras or lenses live action wise until he was on the set for Last Jedi. So that would counteract what Freddie Prinze is saying. So nobody knows if this is legit or not, but also there was an element that Freddie Prinze talked about that they had originally had an Italian actor playing Darth Vader in that movie, but they had to change it, and Filoni was involved in that because the person was speaking with their hands, and that's not what Darth Vader does, so they had to recast him. Again, I have no idea, because we're getting conflicting things here, but it's very intriguing to think
that scene is Filoni.
The legendary Dave Filoni that was behind the Clone Wars. He was the apprentice to George Lucas for 7 or 6 years, I think. 7 years.
Helped bring us Rebels too, right?
And then after the Disney purchase, he did Rebels. He's now doing Bad Batch. He's also involved directly. He and Favreau are the 1-2 punch behind The Mandalorian and all the live action stuff that's been going. I do think Filoni is he is the best person to make Star Wars that's not named George Lucas, in my opinion. So the idea of what he has or hasn't been involved with, live action wise,
very intriguing.
Very intriguing indeed.
Very intriguing.
He should be the Kevin Feige of Star Wars.
Yes,
it's my opinion. Next up, let's see, expectations to be tempered for the MCU. So this is from let's see, Jeff Loveness. and he is the screenwriter for Quantumania and Kang Dynasty.
Okay.
He has said not to expect the Fantastic Four or the X-Men in Kang Dynasty. And that the plan is not to heavily feature them in the MCU outside of Deadpool 3 and Fantastic Four itself. Asked about the Fantastic Four and X-Men, he said, quote, "I think that all that stuff is pretty far away. I know that they're making Fantastic Four, but that's its own thing. I mean, look, I'm the biggest X-Men guy in the world. No, I think that that's being saved a bit. But these Avengers are in trouble. They've got a lot going on with Kang, and they got more than enough to handle." So he's one that would know. He's the screenwriter behind Kang Dynasty. I think this is him smartly tempering expectations.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are expecting maybe Fantastic Four to show up. Even in the movies recently, people have been wondering if they'd show up in Quantumania and stuff. So I think that it's smart of him to let people know.
Nip it in the bud now.
Yeah.
Before it gets out too much and then it doesn't happen and then they're so disappointed that they've just shit on all the movies coming out.
It makes total sense to me because I think Kang Dynasty should be the concern of those that are in the universe to finish, kind of like Thanos. That was the job of the MCU characters that existed. I think Kang should be that way, and then Secret Wars as the next step, and that's where you start to see the crossovers and stuff. And I don't know how those two things are going to end up connecting, but I do think it's very smart for him because I think it'll help all of us as MCU fans to kind of take a breath and not expect, Reed Richards to show up or Wolverine or whoever else to show up in these next handful of movies.
Yeah, we got a bunch coming out before Kang Dynasty, so for them to be like, no, don't expect it. They're going to be in Fantastic Four and they're going to be in Deadpool 3, but don't expect it in every single movie.
Yeah,
and I like that. Also, the who was it that came out and said that Kang isn't going to be in everything?
Yeah, we covered that, I think.
Yeah.
We either covered that on the show or I told it to you in person.
You told it to me in person,
they
for
said
sure.
that Kang has one more. It was Feige.
Yeah.
Said that Kang has one more appearance before Kang Dynasty.
Exactly,
So-
and that's like set the expectations. Like don't let it leave us out there where we're going to be making our own assumptions. And then I think that's kind of something that's happened in the MCU a little bit. Is that we're like, oh, this is going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, and we're like,
And then people are let down.
then they're let down. They had their expectations too high, and I think that
Yeah.
they're starting to recognize that, like, oh, okay, like no, these, and let's be perfectly honest, Fantastic Four and X-Men, some of the most beloved and are like OG characters for Marvel. I mean, you go back and you got
in the first 5 years. Yeah, it's Fantastic Four, then it's the Incredible Hulk, and
Spider-Man?
then I think X-Men came first. It was X-Men because I've read that first like 3 to 4 years chronologically.
Yeah.
And then Fantastic Four is first. Then there was Incredible Hulk. I mean, not counting Ant-Man and Captain America that existed decades before. Those
they
don't
existed, but like the heavy hitters, like when Marvel really started throwing punches in the early 60s, it's like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, X-Men.
Yeah, exactly. So interesting though, and I'm glad that he's doing this because I think that it would suck to, because I mean I even speculated a little bit on if something. I do think there's going to be some connection to Quantumania, future bound, but I don't think that. I think it's good to know that, like, hey, let's not hold our breath for whatever. I know a lot of people are still kind of upset that they haven't announced the cast for Fantastic Four yet, and I think people are expecting too much too soon. So
it's a year or two away, isn't it?
2026.
So 3 years away. Like calm down.
Yeah, it's phase 6 basically.
It's okay.
So we're still in phase 5. So
we're not there yet.
We got some time. But I think it's good for him to kind of set people straight a little bit and get us in the right mindset. Because expectations, that's a hell of a thing to fight against, man.
It's happened to all of us where we get our expectations too high going to a movie and we're like, wow, that let me down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still a good movie, but it let me down.
Yeah. That
Star Wars Episode 9. I mean, we
yeah.
haven't talked Star Wars yet, but I know that is
that's coming, man.
it's coming.
In fact, we got to definitely look at our calendar. We've got the next couple planned out. But Star Wars is definitely got to be on the horizon.
I don't know how we haven't, honestly, but the way that it lined up when we started the show and everything like that is just like, oh yeah, we can't do Star Wars for a little bit.
Yeah, but we'll get there. It's a huge elephant in the room. And it's a gainly beast now. Star Wars. It's not what it used to be, man.
Yeah,
you got all kinds of shows now, live action, animated. You've got there's a lot of Star Wars to talk about.
There is.
So next up, we have next Bond may already be cast.
Dude, you got to be kidding me.
And it is not Taron Egerton.
Okay, hold on. Before you get into this is unreal how this happens. Okay, yesterday we did our hangout for our other show with our Patreon members and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then me, you, and Hayden went and saw Scream 6.
Scream 6, yes.
In between that, my wife and I couldn't figure out what to watch. Mm-hmm. So today, when we woke up, I'm like, I'm just going to pick a movie. You don't care, right? And she's like, no, I don't care. She usually doesn't. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm throwing on Casino Royale. I'm throwing on the first Daniel Craig Bond movie.
It's a good one.
She's only seen, I think, one Bond movie, and I showed it to her. It's GoldenEye.
Oh,
and she didn't care for it that much. It's a 90s action movie. She's not that about those 90s action movies. But I know. But I threw on Casino Royale. Dude, she loved it. She put down her phone, and she's paying attention. Bond gets busted out of the poker game, and she's like, did he just lose? I'm like, yeah, he did. And she's like, what the hell? That's not supposed to happen. He's James Bond. You know, like, she was invested in the movie. And then at the end of the movie, she's like, that was so much better than GoldenEye. She's like, and I'm like, yeah, the great thing is that unlike the other Bond movies, these movies have like a through line. There's like 5 or 6 Bond movies now with Daniel Craig. And I'm like, it's kind of weird. We're in that weird spot in history where we don't have a Bond.
It's not weird. It happened. Usually, there's always that spot where the person does their last one, and we just don't know.
Maybe weird isn't the right word, but I'm like, hey, it's a unique time in history where like we don't have a Bond. And she's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, Daniel Craig just did his last Bond, and they haven't announced the new one.
Yeah.
I literally had that conversation with my wife earlier today.
This is not an announcement, though.
I know, but that's just weird.
Mike says GoldenEye is my favorite Bond just because of GoldenEye 64. He says that game took 0.5 off my college GPA. I mean, I totally agree. That's the reason I also love GoldenEye.
Yeah.
I rank GoldenEye probably number 2. Casino Royale is number 3. So
I love Casino Royale.
Pretty high on my list.
I did not realize how much I like Casino Royale. I was kind of shit on it before.
Oh, no, dude, it's great. It's killer. I love it. It is easily the best Craig. I mean, it's like I said, it's third best for me.
I love Skyfall. I loved Skyfall. Okay. Off Bond. We're going to go down a tangent with Bond, and we're not going to get to Scream, and that's not okay.
So Taron Egerton was asked about Bond, and he says, yeah, I mean, I think they've already got someone, and it's not me. So that's kind of a huge thing that the I think Michael Wilson and I forget her name. Is it Barbara Broccoli? Cubby Broccoli's wife and stepson that are now the brain trust behind it all. They obviously have a plan, but it sounds like, according to Taron, they've already got their pick. We just don't know it yet. So, and it is not him. So he's been a big front runner for it. So I don't know who it might be. There's a lot of speculation out there. It'll be interesting to see over the next little bit, though, who it will be. But we have one name eliminated off the list.
That's a bummer. I like him.
Yeah, me too. He's great. I know some of the heavy hitters I've seen. Tom Hiddleston talked about. Henry Cavill.
Is he British?
Yeah. Oh,
Henry Cavill?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of people that people are kind of speculating on, but Taron was up there. So he's out of the race. So next up, apparently a Dead by Daylight's movie is in the work.
Really?
In the works. I'm sorry. This isn't directing, producing, but it is from Blumhouse.
Okay.
And Jason Wan.
Ooh.
Or James Wan. I'm sorry, Jason.
James Wan.
James Wan, which is a legendary.
Yeah.
I mean, just
he made the original Saw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he also did Aquaman.
Aquaman.
What's the new horror movie
he did? Malignant, which is incredible.
Okay.
Dead Silence.
Yeah,
he's done a lot. He's a legend, man. Like up until very recently, I've called him the modern day master of horror.
Okay.
But now I think that Mr. Flanagan,
torch has been passed.
But James has a lot more under his belt than Flanagan in the horror realm.
What about Ari Aster, who did
Ari Aster? Yeah,
Ari Aster, who did Hereditary and.
Yeah,
Midsummer,
yeah, for sure. So yeah, Dead by Daylight's movie, that is interesting. Could be fun.
Dead by Daylight.
Slicey. And then next up, happy 20th birthday to Return of the King this year.
Wow!
Just to make you feel old, 20 years ago.
I feel very old now. Thank you very much.
In December, though. But as part of it, Cinemark and Regal, at least so far, have announced that they're going to be bringing Return of the King back to theaters. for the almost 20-year anniversary, because it's coming next month, mid-April. They're doing screenings of Return of the King to celebrate 20-year anniversary, even though it's not until December, because there's a few big movies coming this year that I don't think they want to throw.
December's also where they throw a lot of the
big movies
the big movies that are prize getters, award season.
Yeah, a little bit, but there's also some big popcorn movies that that time of year. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Let me pull up my list I make. So, for instance, Aquaman. Speaking of Aquaman, is coming out on Christmas. The Timothée Chalamet Wonka is coming out mid-December, and then Dune will be in its second month. Dune Part 2. So there's and then The Exorcist potentially might still be in theater. So there's a lot that I don't think a lot of theaters want to spend theater real estate on it then, so they're doing it more here in April. Of course, the first question that comes to mind: which version are they going to screen?
Well, the original. They're not going to do the extended cut.
According to the listings, there is a 4-hour runtime.
No way.
So they are going to be the extended editions.
Wow.
So it'll be the first time probably ever that the extended editions have been played in theaters.
Wow.
So that's interesting. I haven't watched. It's been 2011 since I watched it last. So I actually was looked up the Regal here, my go-to theater. They're not playing it. I was talking to Hayden last night after the movie, and I really think what it comes down to is we got a small Regal. A lot of Regals in a lot of places are like 20, 25 screens. Ours is 14.
Yeah.
So Regal's never been in Utah before until this one opened, and it is only a Regal 14, so they only have 14 screens. I think generally speaking, almost every time there's been some kind of event of like not a new movie but like an older movie playing, our Regal never plays it, and I think it's just because they don't have the screens. They don't have enough screens.
Unless it's like it's a downswing in the spring or end of summer where there's not anything, and then they do like I've seen Regal do like a summer thing for kids where they bring back a kids movie. They're bringing back Land Before Time, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, my wife sent me that, and she's like, emotional trauma, anyone? And I'm like, oh god.
But like the AMC up down the road from this Regal, they're 20-something screens, and I think I don't know if AMC's doing it because so far the only ones that announced it is Cinemark and Regal. But like if AMC were doing it, I bet you that theater up the road would have Return of the King versus this Regal that we've got. So if you do have a Regal or Cinemark, look it up. Maybe check out Fandango, whatever other options. Check the theaters near you. I think it's around the 13th or so of April. Return of the King hitting theaters for the 20-year anniversary, which again,
pretty cool.
I mostly wanted to
see me get the stab that it's
20 years ago.
20 years ago that we went and saw that, skipped school and went and saw it. Yeah, that hurts. That was our senior year that we did that. That means that next year is our 20-year anniversary for graduating college.
Yeah, high school.
High school.
Yeah,
not college. High school.
Yep.
20 years. Damn.
And then Carol says, y'all feeling old? And she gets some laughing emojis. Yes, indeed. Because, that was a big one. We skipped school a couple times because we went to multiple screenings that first week. And back in those days, there was no such thing as reserved seating, so you had to stand in line.
Stand in line.
So, we skipped school. And I had a few teachers that called me out on, where the hell were you yesterday? I'm like, I was in line to see Return of the King. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, all right.
A couple teachers, not all of them, but a couple of them, and that's probably why they asked, to be honest, because they probably suspected. All right, so can't wait to jump back into theaters for that. But that brings us to our main topic. So we're gonna do this in two parts.
Okay,
we're gonna do the Scream franchise 1 through 5. And then I'll give a spoiler warning, and then we'll move into the Scream 6 discussion.
Because Scream just came out yesterday.
Yeah, Scream 6 is a day old.
Yeah.
So the main thing to talk about right off the bat, before we even dive into Scream, is I think we've made it clear on our other show, and I've made it clear over the years, but this is maybe new listeners that are listening here. I am a horror fiend. I have been since I was 5.
He loves it.
Spooky season is not a 1 month a year thing.
No.
That is nonsense. I look judgmentally at people that only watch horror movies 1 month a year.
No.
Like that's nonsense. But a Scream movie coming in theaters gives a perfect opportunity for us to dive in and celebrate that this show will love horror movies all year round.
Yep.
Of course, maybe it'll get dialed up a little bit for October.
Probably do a couple themed
especially
episodes.
Because there's a Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
In October.
Yeah.
It's only happened a couple times in my life, and I'm very excited for it. Although the thing that screwed it up for us a little bit because I wanted to do a party or something, but that is the night The Exorcist comes out.
I don't see a problem here. Go watch The Exorcist and then have a party.
A party.
Bring the Ouija board and have a couple candles, doing a summoning circle,
Yeah,
and
yeah, seance. Let's
find some haunted objects like
get
some
some
tarot
cloaks.
cards or a monkey's paw.
get some cloaks.
Yeah.
Maybe a symbol monkey.
No, not a symbol monkey. That's too far. Too far, Ted. Reel it in. Reel it in, man. That's too far.
Oh man, too bad Hayden's not here. He would be reacting to such things. Of course.
Well, we'd have it at his house, of course.
So Scream franchise. First of all, what was your introduction to the series?
You.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
You. You're okay. Let's give a little bit of background first. Tad says that he's everything horror. He loves horror and everything like that. You've been watching horror movies since like 5 years old, right?
Yeah, Child's Play.
Child's Play was your first horror movie.
Yep.
I grew up in a very religious home. I didn't watch horror movies.
Yeah.
I think I talked about this in our introduction episode and everything like that. And Halloween's on there, which is my shirt, Michael Myers.
Yeah.
You know, I got Michael Myers on my shirt. You got a very, very awesome Woodsboro High class of 96?
96, of course.
96, yeah. So that is the year for Woodsboro High, of course.
Yeah, and I'm all about subtle geekery.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things. It always has been. Something like this versus just having a ghost face on my shirt. I'd rather have a Woodsboro
The best was last night when we went and saw Scream 6.
Six.
Tad had a Stab shirt.
Yeah.
Which is the name of
The movie
the
in the
movies they make in the Scream universe about the actual murders.
About the events.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
I had
So
like 4 people compliment me on it.
you
last
did.
night. It was.
You did. They're like, I love your shirt. And I'm just like, see, that's where I suspect him. But yeah, I got introduced to horror movies because of Tad. I thought I watched horror movies as a kid. I did not. I watched dramas that had a little bit of horror elements in them, such as Ghost in the Darkness. Scary movie if you're scared of lions, like me, but not a horror film. So I got introduced to slashers because of Tad. And I'm going to stick strictly to slashers. He showed me Halloween. I love it. It's my favorite slasher of all time. It's my favorite horror movie of all time. I absolutely adore the original Halloween. It's the greatest horror movie of all time, in my opinion.
And the original Scream has a lot of tribute
exactly
to Halloween.
They literally are playing it and talking about it.
Yeah, and there's
in the house
there's
party.
characters named, right?
Loomis.
and stuff.
Billy
which
Loomis.
Halloween did with Psycho,
Yes, it did.
because Loomis is the name of the boyfriend,
right.
And there's a couple
Isn't
different.
Laurie also?
Well, no, but Jamie Lee Curtis is the daughter of Janet Leigh.
That's what it is. That's
So,
the connection.
It's kind of like the Psycho's the father, Halloween's the son, and then Scream is the grandkid.
Yep.
So love that,
Yeah.
nerdy wise.
But what I did to get more into horror films, this is happening in 2012, 2013, around there. No, it was actually before that. It was probably
You would have been exposed to Scream in the first.
No,
couple
I
years
was. I
yeah.
was. But to get more exposed to other horror films that I
Yeah.
hadn't been, in like 2010, 2009, 2010, I started doing a thing in October where I watched one horror movie a day. I watched 31 horror movies. Some I had seen, some I hadn't seen. What ended up happening is in like my 3rd or 4th year, I let this man set my horror movies for that month.
Yeah, it was great.
We had some fun times with that, texting you randomly, screaming at you about why you're doing this to me and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
discovered that you don't like
Beast.
Fluffy from Creepshow.
Yeah, the monkey under the stairs. Yeah, no, not a fan. But I watched all the Scream movies in a couple of those. So 1 through 3, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I watched a ton. I watched with you. I watched them by myself. 4, I think I've seen 2 or 3 times. Just watched 5 for the first time, like I said, and then I watched 6 last night for my first time.
So 4 is a really good one to go rewatch nowadays because it's very ahead of its time. Kind of we talked just the other day on our Patreon about Misery and
Yeah.
how Misery is very prescient today, even maybe more so than it was back then.
Yeah.
And Scream 4 in 2011 is all about like influencer, like which really wasn't a thing in 2011.
Yeah.
I mean, social media was there, but in its infancy and stuff. But the whole idea of like what we see today with like influencers and just this whole toxic culture, dude, that's what Scream 4 is about. But it came out
Okay.
like 11 years too early.
Oh, okay.
But it's crazy when you watch it. It's like, dude, this could have been made. Like, if you just took all things away and just had someone watch it, be, oh yeah, this is modern. It's talking about like influencers
Yeah.
and kids that all they care about is fame and like being like recognized,
Being a
and-
celebrity for not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly, and that's like the whole, like kind of the whole driving point of 4. So it's very interesting because it came out and that was the last one with Wes Craven, of course. But before he passed away. But yeah, so I recommend 4. I just rewatched that one.
I do need to give it a rewatch.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of Succession, Rory Macaulay Culkin's younger brother, he is one of the kids of the Roy family in Succession, but he is one of the characters in that as well.
In Scream 4?
Scream 4.
Is he the one that was in Waco? Or is that the different one?
Yeah, I'm forgetting Waco now.
He's the survivor.
Probably.
Which is why you see a lot of stuff from him.
I think there might be only 2 Culkins.
Okay.
So yeah, probably yes, him. So yeah, he's in there. It's a great one. But yeah, for me, do you have any more to say on intro?
That's basically it for me. That's how I was introduced to Scream is through you. But you, on the other hand,
Scream for me has been an obsession since '96. I grew up on horror from age 5, so from 5 to 11, I watched everything I could get my hands on. I remember going weekly. I'd walk over to Hollywood Video or Blockbuster and just go through systematically through the horror section, renting everything.
For those of you that may not know, if you're too young, those are video rental places where you would go and check out a movie, take it home and watch it, and then return it. We didn't have streaming back then.
Yeah, no such thing. But I would do it weekly, and I just go through the horror movies. So I just was exposed to so many, and I just remember through the 90s, like what I would try to see in theaters. I was just disappointed in. There's a lot of shitty horror. By the time the 90s happened, the wind was getting out of the sails of like the 80s and stuff, and it was just getting kind of like most of the slashers, if you go look at the movies that came out in the 90s, that's where it started to kind of jump the shark a little bit. There's a lot of shitty horror movies coming out.
Well, you're on what? Nightmare on Elm Street 7. You're on Friday the 13th Part 9.
Yeah.
Jason X was around then, wasn't it?
That was a little bit later.
A little bit later.
9, yeah.
But yeah, Jason, you have that's one of the Jasons where it's not even Jason.
Yeah.
It's zombie Jason.
Yeah.
It's infecting people.
Deadite Jason.
Yeah, Deadite Jason.
But yeah, so I was actually kind of, as dumb as this may sound a little bit, but I was kind of getting like annoyed with just that horror just wasn't what it used to be, and I was only 11 at the time, or 10. I mean, it depends on what year. But because for 5 years I just watched the fuck out of everything, and every time I try to watch something new, I was just like, why are they not making good horror? And I was just kind of getting over. I was just kind of getting whatever. Like, dude, horror kind of sucks anymore. And then 96 rolls along.
Mm-hmm.
And, Kevin Williamson, a legendary writer, wrote this story. He originally called it Scary Movie, and then the title was changed to Scream. Wes Craven, legendary director, got it. Obviously, a lot going on there. You got the meta stuff, which I loved. I always remember, you always hear a lot of geeky people, especially a little bit older than us that grew up in the 90s, really were pulled into, Kevin Smith movies because, in his movies you see a bunch of nerds talking about nerdy shit, and a lot of nerds were just like, I feel seen. This is something I've never seen people talk about, what janitors may have been killed on the Death Star before, and that was a little bit outside of me. I had those conversations, but I didn't really see the Kevin Smith stuff till a little bit later. But Scream, the way they all talked about horror movies there was how me and my brother, my cousin on sleepovers would talk. So it was just holy shit. And then also it was super brutal, super gory. It was really just, everything about it was great. And I was just obsessed. So then 97, the sequel comes out, and then 2000. And I remember the earliest days of the internet for me in the late 90s. I was spending time on Scream message boards where we had crazy obsessive people like me that were I don't remember all the details of it, but I remember there was message boards talking about how there had to be a third killer in the first 2 movies. The third one hadn't come out yet, and it was just literally breaking down physically Billy and Stu, but then there's this other thing happening, there's another spot, and it was dude, it was just beyond the realm of reasonable discussion.
It's the early days of fan theories.
Yeah, exactly. It was just fan theories where it was just whatever, and then it pays off in the third movie where you end up finding out that Roman was involved in both the first 2 movies. So that was a huge moment. So I just remember that earliest days of the internet, Scream is one of the definitive things for me. Love it. It is absolutely one of my favorite slashers. And I mean, I have Halloween's my all-time favorite, but Scream's just a sentimental favorite for sure.
because it got you through that horrible time in the 90s.
Yeah,
and then from there, horror films have gotten substantially better.
Oh
since
yeah,
then.
yeah. Ever since, like, I think that's the turning of the corner.
Yeah.
Because like the 90s was just kind of ill defined. Nobody kind of knew what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So they were all just trying to still play on the same shit the 80s had done, but like I said, it was just worn out. People weren't.
Yeah.
You were jumping the shark. You were whatever. And then Scream just changed it. Like after that, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then you'd see in the early 2000s, you'd see like stuff like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake,
Saw.
the Rob Zombie,
Halloween. We're a little bit later.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, the House of a Thousand Corpses.
That was
that one. Okay.
Yeah, that was filmed in like 99. It didn't come out till like 2000,
Oh, that's right.
2001. They had some distribution issues, but that was filmed. I remember reading Fangoria magazines talking about that movie, and I was just like, I want to see this movie. 2 years later, finally got to see it. But then there was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. There was a whole revitalization of horror, and it's definitely we're in a golden age of horror for sure. And I really do feel that Scream was that turning point of like redefining and revitalizing the industry of horror movies. And I am also one. I think there's some people that look down on horror movies in general. Always get looked down on.
Yeah.
But even inside the horror realm, I think that people look down on slashers as like the lesser element of horror. But I'm one. I think
it's not that scary or not that good.
But I love slashers, man. I think there's a true art to slashers that people don't respect sometimes. But I love them. I may actually say I think that like haunted, spooky, exorcist type stuff can be scarier. But I think my preference is, generally speaking, I think slashers are better than all the kinds of
is
horror.
that when early 2000s? Is that when The Ring came out?
Yeah, The Ring came
The
out around
Grudge,
there. The Grudge, all that stuff.
Paranormal Activity was in the early 2000s. Not
And-
early 2000s, but it was in the 2000s.
But I think that a lot of those, if not for Scream and the success Scream had, I don't know if any of those movies get made, because those are different genres, certainly.
Yeah.
Or sub-genres. They're all horror, but they're different kinds of horror. So you can't necessarily say directly that, like, oh, The Ring, is because of Scream. But I would say the success of Scream is probably why.
A lot of those
that
horror
whole-
movies in the 2000s wouldn't have got made if Scream hadn't had the success that it did.
Yeah.
Because it built a franchise in one movie.
Yeah.
Like, it was ready to go. Not a trilogy, but a franchise. Like, it was ready to go.
Yeah.
From the offset, and people were like, oh, look, we can still make money off of horror. Whereas these past, 10 or so years, we haven't had the money coming in from horror films and stuff like that. We have Jason 7, who doesn't do that hot. And it gets ripped apart by critics and stuff like that. But that's a normal thing for horror films, is to see critics just shit on it constantly. It's like, oh, this isn't a good movie. And it's like, well, it's a horror movie. I mean, it's not supposed to be The Godfather or Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a horror movie. It's supposed to scare you. Did it scare you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Then it did what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is Scream did come at a magical time for me, because it was probably about 13 to 15 years old when horror, like I'm stealing this from someone, I don't remember who it was now that said it, but they said every massive horror fan, there comes a point when you just start to quote unquote see the Matrix. You could see the code, and once that happens, you're no longer scared.
Yeah.
And I don't say that as like a prideful manly, I don't get scared. I literally just don't.
He
Like,
doesn't.
Every once in a while, like a jump scare will get me, but like that's cheap, because like it's just a loud noise. It's like startling you. Startling is not scaring. And scaring, though, because it's
Scaring is what happened to Hayden last night.
yes,
During a particular scene of Scream 6.
couple of them.
Where he was literally either crying out loud where other people in the theater could hear him, or us sitting next to him on either side of him could hear him mumbling under his breath, oh God, oh no, oh God, oh no, 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 no. That's scared.
Yeah.
But just going, ah, and me going, Jesus Christ, that's startled.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
not scared.
Yeah, if I'm at work and someone drops like a heavy something and it like startles me, like that startles me. Like a movie doesn't get credit for doing that.
No.
Like if something at work's doing it, but like there comes a point, and I won't say it happens to everyone, but for me it was right around 13 to 15, somewhere in that age range, where suddenly it was just, I had seen enough to where it was just like I could see the code. I'm like at the end of the Matrix, and Neo looks around and all he sees is the fucking text, and he can just read it all. That's me with horror movies, and it hit about that age. So Scream came at a magical time where it was before that, so I was actually impacted fearfully by the original couple Screams. Yeah,
So it happened after Scream.
because I remember like having sleepovers with my brother and my cousin when we were younger, and we'd always rent horror movies, but we'd always have a comedy too. Because after a couple hours of watching, 3 or 4 horror movies, we throw on Ace Ventura or something to try to settle us to go to sleep, because otherwise we wouldn't sleep. So.
It's the rule with my wife is that if we watch a very scary movie, we turn on a Disney movie afterwards.
Yeah. So there was all that. But yeah, so Scream did come at a perfect time where if it would have come a couple years later, I would have enjoyed it. But I wonder if I would have enjoyed it less because it wouldn't have actually been scary for me as much as I would have just appreciated the craft of it.
Maybe that's why Scream is so special for you, is it was your last real venture into the, oh God, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. Next question. Is there any of the films stand out as your favorite?
One.
Yeah.
Dude, it's hard not to love one the most.
It's so good.
It's so good. Billy Loomis and Stu as the killers.
Yeah.
The twist that it's the boyfriend, and everything like that.
Yeah, Randy in all of his glory.
Randy in all of his glory. The opening scene with Drew Barrymore is just masterful.
Yeah.
It just adds to the spice as well, knowing what
Linda Blair has
Linda Blair is in there.
Cameo.
But also like the spice that gets added with Drew Barrymore is how Wes Craven got her to cry. Is by talking about how people abuse animals, because Drew Barrymore's such an animal lover.
Yeah.
So he's on the phone with her talking about how people are doing horrible shit to cats and dogs and shit like that, and that's what's making her like react that way. Stuff like that. But just the sheer,
or the fact that she's like the biggest actor in that movie.
Yeah.
In terms of like star power.
And she died.
And
you're
she
like,
dies
oh,
the
here's
first-
the hero, and then she
Yeah.
died. You're like, oh my God.
Like, it's even more extreme than Psycho, right?
Yeah.
Psycho did that. Like, the biggest actor in that movie gets killed, but it's close to the halfway mark. If not, it's like a third
You're
of
like,
the movie.
oh, okay, that's.
But it's shocking. So it's like,
But Drew
holy
Barrymore
shit.
dies in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
It's like, what the?
Yeah,
But also, like,
and look at the
that
poster.
also-
She's the biggest person on the poster.
Yep.
It's like
she's
looked
on
like
the cover of the DVDs in the movies still.
Yeah, she
So-
looked like she was going to be the star of the show, and
Yeah.
then she dies in the first 10 minutes. You're just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
What the hell?
it threw the whole movie on its head. And
Yeah.
everything like that. So, yeah, I have a hard time passing up the first one. Also, the brutality of it.
Yeah.
You see some pretty messed up kills, even for 96.
When Drew Barrymore's boyfriend gets gutted and they
Yeah.
actually show the guts, like, that wasn't a thing. Like,
No.
like a zombie movies that you'd see like whatever, but a lot of slashers by that point in time, you weren't seeing that kind of gore in slashers anymore.
You were seeing
you'd see throat slash,
throat slash, and
stuff
some
like
blood
stabbed,
spurt.
like whatever. But to see like that, and then you see his guts actually come. I remember that being like just shocking.
oh my
like,
God.
holy fuck! Like
Yeah.
they just showed that. Yeah.
I mean, as much as I like 2, I do like 2
and I
better
love
than
them
3.
all. I do love them all. But
one is one. I mean, it's that original one. The Randy rants are some of the best things
The
in the
rules.
entire franchise. Don't you know the rules? Pause the movie, get up and explain the rules. No sex, and then you get everyone just being like, no boo, no alcohol, and they same thing. They boo them and everything like that. It's just like, don't say I'll be right back.
The drinking and do drugs, they all cheers to that.
Oh, they all cheers. That's right, they do.
Carol says, killing her outright shocked the hell out of me. Yeah, it's like I said, not unheard of because Psycho did it, but it had been a long time since Psycho, and just no one expected that.
No,
Like,
it caught everyone off guard. Especially also the one thing that with the Drew Barrymore kill, how far was she from safety?
Yeah.
Like her dad was right there, right?
Yeah, but she had her voice box crushed.
Yeah,
so
her
she couldn't
voice
call
box had
out.
been crushed and everything like that. Help!
Yeah.
Just like, dude, so good. And then the other thing also is like the mom opening the front door and her screaming. That should have been the end of the scene. Nope, they show us Drew Barrymore hung up from the tree and everything like that. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Like it caught us all off guard. Killing the principal.
yeah.
That's unheard of.
the
You don't kill.
fawns.
Yeah, you don't kill him.
Don't kill the fawns.
Well, he's not involved really. Like he's not there at the house. Like that's where all the
I
killing should
think if
happen
I
and
remember
everything.
right, that was actually added because the studios bitched that there was a stretch that nothing was happening. There was no kills or anything.
Nothing.
So
Scary,
literally
no kills.
that was added in because
Yeah.
they needed to up the body count, and there was
Oh,
like
okay.
because if you think about it, next time you watch that movie, consider if that wasn't there and watch how long it is between even attacks. Like,
Yeah.
there's a whole stretch there where it's like, what the fuck's going on here?
What
Plus,
is Ghostface doing?
if you don't have that principal scene, you don't have Wes Craven dressed as Freddy Krueger as the janitor.
What'd you call me?
Yeah,
What'd you say?
Little shits. What did you say, or what'd you call me? Not you, Fred.
Not you, Fred.
So gotta love that.
That's great.
That's a fun little
Yeah.
throw into the
Little cameo.
classic horror and Wes Craven's movie too.
So yours is one as well.
Also, I love the Drew Barrymore discussion too. When it's like, oh, the Freddy Krueger, and like, oh yeah, the first one was good, the rest sucked. because
Yeah.
Wes has done more than the first one. So
Yeah.
he was, but he didn't write the script though. But he didn't veto
No.
Kevin Williamson's line there, which is great.
He was like, yeah, okay. So you're saying one's your favorite as well?
Yeah, I do love them all. I really
Yeah.
do. Including 6, a little teaser for the spoiler section, but I did love 6 as well. But yeah, it's really hard to beat the first one, man.
Yeah.
It really is. Carol also says, I love a good fanboy, fangirl origin story. Something catches one's eye as a kid, and then you build on it. Sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and
Yep.
on and on. Indeed. We all have those.
yeah.
We all have those origin stories. Next up, where do you think this series fits in to your overall horror rankings? I'm not asking you to rank. I'm just
Okay.
saying, like, just gut check.
Top 5.
Say I was going to make you do it, like, just and as series, like, there's the Halloween series, the Friday the 13th. Like, as a series, not solo movies. Where do you think Scream falls?
Top 5.
Which is considerable.
Top 5 for sure. Not number 1. Halloween would take that. I know that for a fact. I'll say that now. Halloween's my favorite slasher, favorite horror movie,
Yeah.
favorite horror franchise.
Yeah, and the greatest mask. I mean,
It's such a good mask.
so good. Although the Scream's mask is very effective.
It's dude.
And it's the only one.
Stay
it's
tuned for the spoiler part.
Up until 6, up until a few days ago, it was the only one that doesn't really change.
No.
Jason changes all the time. Michael, like, it's always the same basic mask, but there's different sculpts and there's different molds and different whatever. There's different actors. I mean, the second Halloween movie, it was the same mask actually from the original, but the guy had a wider face. So
Yep,
it
it looked
looked
different.
It looked different than in Nick Castle in the original. So
Mike says Shatner for the win.
Freddy doesn't really change, I guess,
No.
like over time, but he's not a mask either.
Right.
But yeah, Scream, fucking consistent, which is nuts to think
Yeah.
about. Also, just the consistency of the whole franchise. Find me another horror movie where you have the same actors for like 4 movies over 11 years.
Yeah.
Or no, not 11 years. I'm sorry. 15 years.
15.
Also, the same director. All those first 4
Those
movies.
first 4.
Unprecedented.
It
dude.
would have still been Wes if he hadn't have passed away. Unfortunately.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's just like the consistency of this franchise is unheard of in horror.
Yeah.
It just is. Where it ranks for me, I'd probably say go even a little bit further and say probably top 3. It'd be tough to make that ranking.
It would be,
but
it
I
would
really
be
think
tough.
I think it would be top 3 just because like my deep love for it because of like what I've already spelled out, but also that consistency element. Like there's no other horror movie franchise that has the consistency. Like I love all the Halloween movies save for one. But I'm going to admit I'm as much as I love them, I can tell you like objectively some of them aren't great.
Yeah.
I love them, but doesn't mean that they're like
Right.
whatever. But Screams, I would say legitimately are good movies.
Sure.
Top to bottom, this whole franchise, which is nuts. What was of the series 1 through 5? What was your favorite reveal?
For the killer,
Yeah, any jump out as like, you know that whatever.
I do remember that 3 really caught me off guard. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's one of the students, and then it's Billy's mom as well.
2.
Oh, it was 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, 2. Roman was 3.
Yeah.
But no, 2. Yeah, where it's one of the students, and then it's like, yeah, okay, that's predictable. But then it's like also like,
Timothy Olyphant.
wait,
as a matter of fact.
this bitch?
Yeah.
Who's this bitch? Oh shit, that's Billy's mom. I remember that one being like a
And
load
they-
of bricks getting dropped on my head. I was like, oh my god,
And
that
they-
one got me.
They played it too because you see her earlier in the movie.
Yeah, couple times.
She gives a fake name and she's a reporter.
She's
and-
talking to Gail and trying
Yeah.
to like interview Gail and stuff like that. So like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, what the fuck does she have to? Oh, and I just remember being floored that it was Billy's mom.
Yeah.
So when it comes to reveal, I think that one is like my.
That one's there. Yeah.
But a close second is Billy and Stu,
Yeah.
because usually, I mean, up until that,
You thought it was one.
have we had 2 killers in a movie? Not really. I
Not
mean, unless
much.
you're like looking at like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre where it's a family and stuff
Well,
like that.
Jamie Lloyd did kill her mom in the end of 4, so there's 2 killers.
Well, I mean, come on. No, but for the entire
in a,
movie.
in a clown mask too. So
Stop it.
And if they would have played it into that though, dude, imagine if
Yeah.
Jamie was the killer through the rest of that.
and she's a
couple
kid killer
movies.
in the next movie.
Or you could have aged her up.
Then
into 5.
age her up, and
I don't know.
that's where she becomes
That
the
would've-
new Michael.
That would have been ballsy as fuck. But
It would've.
yeah. It's
but
tangent,
yeah, I think that finding out that there was 2 killers in one is a close second. But
yeah.
but
And
Billy's mom.
and then it was the boyfriend too.
Yeah.
I think because they remember the first one they build you up with the whole you suspect him early on, and then he gets exonerated because she gets attacked stuff. So audience wise, you're like okay, is
Oh,
it
it
him?
can't be him.
Yeah, it's not him.
And then he
whatever.
gets stabbed, and you're like, oh, he's dead. See, it wasn't him. Fuck all you people that were saying that it was him. He was a good guy. He was
Yeah.
a good guy. And then it's like, oh, shit, I was wrong.
But see, now
I was misled.
Now we're all mistrusting it after that first one, though. Now
Yeah,
we're
every
always,
time it's don't trust the love interest.
yeah, don't trust the love interest. Don't trust that someone's dead or that
Yep.
that someone is who you think they are. They could have some other
Yep.
deeper whatever. Yeah, for me, I will say, just fan wise, I do love 3. The fact that Roman is Sydney's brother, another
Mm-hmm.
illegitimate child of her mom, and because they plugged it in to the first 2 movies,
Tying
again,
1 and 2 with him.
again, all those message boards, hours I spent on message boards, debating that
Vindication.
yeah, debating that there had to be a third killer. And I really wish I could remember like what the arguments were, but it was just
Yeah.
like I said, it was so deep and nerdy, but I loved it. It was my jam. So the fact that paid it off was great, and I'll call that one out just because like the first one's obvious, so I'd say that one just because it was exonerating for me as a fan, but also it was just kind of cool because it deepened like the mythos too. Like,
Yeah.
oh, she had another kid, so this is Sydney's brother. Now you're talking there's a whole different family element. Like that was really cool, but I think they've done a good job on all of them, man. I think
Four also was like floored me as well. It's like, wait, it's the one that's been getting terrorized the entire time that wants this.
the final girl.
Yeah, she wants fame. Like it was like the heir apparent to Sydney.
Yeah.
Like this is where they kill Sydney, and now Jill's gonna take over, and it's gonna be Jill for the rest of this.
Yeah.
On to the next, on to 5 and 6 and 7, and then she'll get killed off, and there'll be a new one, and on, and rinse and repeat, and you have a franchise that can make you $1 billion if you just keep doing this over and over again.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. But then it's like, no, she's one of the killers. Like I remember that one getting me as well. Just like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Favorite kill? Put you on the spot.
Favorite kill.
And I put myself on the spot too because I, of course, didn't prep anything in advance on this, so I got to think about it too. But
I mean, a garage door always comes to mind.
I think Tatum might be. Yeah, that's such a
garage
good-
door also always comes to mind because it's creative. You know,
Yeah,
like it's not the standard run of the mill just stabbings. But my favorite kill. Okay, are we talking killer kill or when a killer gets killed?
Mike says garage door as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a great
just,
one.
Yeah, just kill in general.
If we're gonna go with kill in general, I gotta
Jill.
go with
Jill.
No, I gotta
Oh,
go with my favorite. Has got to be Billy. Not in my movie. Bam. You know,
Yeah.
bam. Not in my movie.
Yeah.
That is so good because it's so meta for the. Careful. This is where they,
Come
Randy's standing there all
Yeah,
stabbed,
they
and he's
come
like,
back- come back for one
This is
last
where they
scare."
come back for one final scare. Oh, bam. Not in my movie. Oh, it's so fucking badass from Sydney.
Yeah.
That one jumps out at me, but the garage door is my favorite victim kill. My favorite killer kill would be Sydney killing Billy.
I mean, Jill getting the defibrillator to the head was a.
that is a rough one.
that's good. That's good. But I think for me, it's Tatum. The garage door. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, and it's brutal. You see her face get caved in with,
Yeah.
the thing. So, yeah, that's all I have for the whole series. Any other things you want to add in before jumping into 6?
No, I think that's it.
Except for all hail Randy, of course.
Randy is great. Are we gonna jump into 6 or are we gonna do the list
I was going to do that at the end.
at the end?
Yeah.
Or should we do it before or at the end because it's going to include discussions about 6 for some of the characters?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, that's a great idea. So it'll be saved at the end.
So, yeah, we're going into spoiler section now. Let me go ahead and change the slide. And also, I put little ghost face on the screen.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. That's great.
I had to. I mean, he's
Yeah.
awesome. He's great. So, yeah, moving into Scream 6 now. Like I said, it's brand new. Just came out. But, yeah, let's talk about we went and, like you mentioned, we went and saw it with Hayden, which is always a joy to go see a horror movie with
It's so much fun. I've seen a couple horror movies with him, and it's always interesting because we always fight over who gets to sit next to him. Usually it's you automatically gets a seat next to him,
Yeah.
and so it's the other side of Hayden that we fight back and forth. I remember one time just this last year or so that I'm like, okay, baby, it's your turn. You get to sit next to Hayden. She's like, oh, I do? She's like honored that she gets to sit next to him and everything. But last night it was just the three of us. We didn't have anyone else with us. It was so you on one side, me on the other. And it was so hard sometimes not laughing because he gets so scared at like the littlest thing. A door bangs open. Ah!
Yeah,
he like screams.
Yeah.
like, and he also does like the classic thing too. Is like, that was scary.
Yeah.
But the film itself. So we got our spoiler warning up and everything.
Yeah,
like that.
spoilers abound for the new one. I do have things to kind of go through it.
Okay.
A bit.
I did very first impression. I love the film. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a great conclusion to the follow up to 5.
Yeah.
And set up a new one, 7, which is greenlit.
Has been greenlit, which means that we'll have a trilogy, 5, 6, and 7 for
5,
this
6, and 7 will
group.
be a trilogy, and then
4 kind of stands on its own a little bit, like,
but it's also tied a little bit with 3.
It's tied into the first 3, but it's like pseudo tied, but it's also not really tied to 5. Whatever.
It's not tied with 5.
It's
really,
it's like 2 trilogies, and there's just 4 in the middle. Which
4
is
is like
fine.
4 is like 3A or something like that. Like.
But it's only tangentially connected to even the original 3. So 4 is kind of a strange one.
It is
a
an
little
interesting
island, which it's still genius though.
But I liked 6. I liked 6 way more than 5. I talked to you about it. I didn't like 5. I felt cheap at times. It felt rushed. The reveal was great. Who the killer was, I got 1 out of 2 on the killers for 5. I guessed the girl, but I did not guess the boyfriend. I'm like, they can't do the boyfriend again. Like, they'll never do the boyfriend again. And it was the boyfriend. I was like, God damn it.
In 5,
Yeah, in 5. But 6, it caught me so off guard that the very first kill, killer takes his mask off.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what? And then
Yeah.
we're just like following him, and I'm just like, dude, that was one of the coolest things ever.
And that's
So I
my
was like,
first note, was the opening few scenes, dude. Just wow. Because
Holy shit, dude.
And it was so brilliantly done too.
Yeah.
Just the way it was executed, just everything about that scene is pretty great.
Yeah.
And then as it carries on, as you follow the killer, which is nuts. you know. Definitely a different ending. They've done a couple a little bit like meta openings in previous ones where it's like you think you're watching a scene, but then it like zooms out and it says stab 6 or whatever.
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
you realize you're, and honestly, in retrospect, some of those are kind of obvious because they're a little bit cheesier even than Scream.
Yeah.
Because Scream, there is a level of cheese to them, but they're even cheesier, and you're just like, God, why are they so like stilted in their acting? Like,
Right.
what is this? And then like whatever, and then like, oh, it's stab and stuff. So we've had some trickery before in the opening scenes, which are legendary for Scream across the board.
Yeah.
But this one was, holy shit.
Yeah, and it was brutal too. I just remember him like stabbing her over and over and over and over and over again. And it's just like, holy shit. And then you open up the fridge and there's the roommate, and then he gets gutted too. And it's just like, oh shit.
Yeah, I would say that I mentioned it before we went in, which of course it tormented Hayden a little bit. I did hear they said they were going to pull back on the comedy on this one a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit more horror and gore, which is
It was absolutely.
And it was, and I think it helped though, because I think there was a couple scenes, and we'll talk about them in a bit, that were the tension in them was insane.
Yeah.
Like, just I don't think anything in Scream has been as tense as some scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nuts. So yeah, opening few scenes, crazy way to do it. First elephant in the room, no Sydney. Did that impact your enjoyment at all?
A little bit. It's hard to have a Scream without Sydney, but also I did notice that in 5 she was kind of wasted. Like, it's like they're not writing Scream for her. Like, it would be better if they did what they did with her in 6. I liked her part. I mean, I don't like that she wasn't in 6.
Yeah.
I don't like the circumstances behind what happened. I've read about that.
The behind the scenes, yeah.
The behind-the-scenes stuff is shitty, how they treated Neve Campbell, who is the franchise as far as I'm concerned.
She's the franchise,
you
for
know,
sure.
she's Sidney Prescott, for fuck's sake. Like, treat her good.
Yeah.
And they didn't. I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping they'll redeem themselves with 7.
I do.
But
I do too. But I liked that it was. I already talked to Sydney. She's not coming. She's hiding. I would have preferred that in 5 as well. It almost felt like she was added as fan service that wasn't needed, and she was largely wasted. So I liked this better in 6, that we were able to focus on Samantha and Tara, which are the new replacement for Sydney, is that we have a sister combo instead of one.
Yeah.
So
I had a hard time with it. This is the first time when all this news came out about Neve Campbell basically getting lowballed by the studios.
Yeah.
And she basically told him to fuck off. That pissed me off. This is the first time I've ever considered not seeing a Scream movie. When all that was coming out, there was part of me that even just wanted, like, should I just like fucking not see this movie? Because like this is her franchise, man.
Yeah.
Like you and
for them to treat her that way was like,
yeah. And I don't know like how different the movie would have been. I don't know what like I'm assuming the script was changed, so I don't know that you could necessarily point to like gaps that probably would have been her necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
It probably would have been a bit different in how it was structured or whatever. But
Yeah.
I will say it bums me out, but I will say I wish they would have taken the line about her out. Personally.
Just not mention her
not
at
mention
all.
her at all, because the movie did drag me in to the point where I kind of started to forget. And then that line came up, and it just kind of
refresh your memory that they
yeah.
fucked her.
So like honestly, I could have done without that line.
Okay.
Personally, just don't even mention her. Just
It would have been just fine if they hadn't mentioned her. I'm with you on that. It would have
Yeah.
been just fine. And honestly, yeah, you're right. It probably would have been a little bit better.
Yeah. So but it does bum me out. I think she should have been involved.
You know what it would have been? The Gail Weathers attack at the apartment. That would have been Sydney. And then the professor at the beginning would have been Gail. She's been divorced from Dewey. She's lonely.
I think it would have been a different structure.
You think it would have been entirely different?
Yeah, I think that.
I think that would fit though. Have Gail get murdered up front. Have that be like the opening. Oh fuck! They killed Gail within the first 10 minutes.
Now here's the thing. Actually, thinking about it, it just barely hit me.
Yeah.
If Kirby wasn't in it, that could have been Sydney's role.
Sydney's the one that comes to protect and help.
Yeah. So that's maybe it. And honestly, I'm trying to remember the timeline on if Kirby's return was announced pre or post Sydney.
Okay.
Not that Sydney wouldn't have been FBI or
Yeah.
anything, but some of the expertise and elements.
You definitely would have had the officer listening to her, the detective, the dad, and everything like that. He would have been like, "Well, I have to listen to her. It's Sydney Prescott.
Yeah.
Like, if I turn her away, that's going to be way too suspicious."
Yeah.
And also, wouldn't he want to get her too?
Yeah. Yeah.
She's as much responsible as Samantha and Tara is.
Yeah.
She was there.
So jump from Woodsboro to New York City. How do you think that worked?
I don't think it was a problem. I mean, we haven't been in Woodsboro before. 2 and 3 weren't in Woodsboro. And so it wasn't like that big of a thing for me. I loved the subway scenes.
Yeah.
That was some of my favorite shit from 6 is like seeing all the different masks, seeing people on Halloween, everyone being suspicious of anyone and everyone. It was great tension.
Yeah.
Ending with an attack and everything like that on Mindy. It was fantastic. So I didn't have a problem with it. It also opened it up to where it's like new aspects. We don't have a house. We have apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're going to get to the ladder scene.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal. But it didn't bother me at all. And in fact, I think it made it better.
Yeah.
Because it's like they are trying to move on with their life. They're not just staying in some little small town in California where it could happen all over again. They're moving to the exact opposite coast.
Yeah.
The exact opposite style of lifestyle. You're moving from rural to big city.
Yeah.
That's if you want to get away from it, do that. You
Yeah.
want to get away from a big city, move to a small town. You want to
Yeah.
get away from a small town, move to a big city. They did that.
Yeah.
I liked it.
You know
What about you?
You know what we need to have is Scream in that little Alaska town that's in one building.
Oh, where there is no going outside, otherwise you freeze to death?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I don't think this is a complaint necessarily, but I do think with how much time we spent on the college campus, it wasn't as New Yorky as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think New York was, I'm not going to say it was like inconsequential, but I really feel like you can count on one hand the scenes that were New Yorky. Because I think so much of it was based in like only like a lot of it was on their college campus, and I just feel like that was a cool throwback to 2.
There was only like 2 scenes on the college campus.
It feels like there was a lot of time spent there. I don't feel
They
like
had the whole meeting where it's like you're a suspect, everyone's a suspect. They had that was like on a bench.
the
there.
party.
The
which
party was at a frat house.
Was a big,
but
was
you
a
had
big
the
part of
you
it.
had the bodega, you had Central Park, you had Gail's apartment, which is Upper West Side, and then you had the police precinct, and you had the warehouse, which was not the college campus.
And again, I'm not even complaining.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, for as much as they were advertising New York, I don't know. It felt like huge chunks of the movie
Should it have been a club instead of a frat party?
It could have been just something. I mean, the opening scene, I mean, that was perfectly New York.
Yeah.
But like, I just think there was other elements, which again, I'm not even opposed to, because again, I love the college stuff because it was a huge throwback to 2, which was on at college and stuff. But I don't know. I don't even know what I expected. I just felt like walking out, I was like, man, it wasn't as New Yorky as I thought it would be. I don't know.
Really? I thought it was way New Yorky. So, like the random person recognizing her and throwing the soda on her, the subway, which was like the stupidest fucking thing you could do. Take public transit, stay together. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
You know what I thought though? Why didn't the other group get off that subway? Wait, get on the second one.
They could have.
I mean, it's hard to communicate, but
I
like,
don't understand why. Well, they weren't getting a text from her at all.
yeah,
They weren't getting
but
signal.
they did get
But
get
why would you take public transport?
because it's public.
So
What are you gonna do? Get in an Uber with a single person that could very well?
there's 6 of you. 6 versus 1. 6 versus 1.
That hasn't worked out for the crowded people.
Right, but
in
you're
the
in a
series,
car.
so-
It's not like it's going to be like a warehouse on wheels or anything like that. There's nowhere for him to hide. Get an Uber XL, all of you in a Chevy Tahoe, ride to the warehouse. Mindy doesn't get stabbed.
Yeah, like Sydney and her friend that are in the cop car that gets slammed into a thing, and then the cop gets killed, and then they're stuck in the back of the cop car.
I forgot about
Yeah,
that scene.
cars are not safe. So that was the right choice. Going public transit's the right choice because you're around a lot more people. Now, the downside to it is New York City, where people don't give a fuck. And just ignore things. But yeah, I again, and it's not even a complaint necessarily. I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe I expected maybe more in like high rises, not just like the one Gales thing that could easily have just been in a house in Woodsboro. Like there's nothing about that felt New Yorky except that it was in like, you know what I mean? Like imagine like a chase scene that was like going to multiple levels using like fire exits. Like I just feel like there could have been a lot more of an embrace of New York. I feel like and again, it's not even a complaint because I loved the college stuff. I loved the because I felt like it was a cool echo to 2, which is the second of this trilogy. So cool echo there. What am I?
Carol says if you're referring to Shatner Star Trek, the original series for childhood origin stories, watching Uhura do her thing on the bridge, sitting to the left, slightly behind Captain Kirk, started me on my path. If you're referring to Shatner in another context, he's awesome all the way around. William Shatner's mask is what they used for the grounds for the original Halloween mask. The original Michael Myers mask was made from a William Shatner mask. That's what we're referring to. What do you got there? Tad's got a box. Oh no, Tad's got a box. Why does Tad have a box?
What does Tad have a box?
Why does Tad have a box? What's in the box?
I'm glad you're not. Oh.
What's in the
I
box?
say I'm glad you're not doing the old 7 routine.
Oh, of course I'm going to do the 7 routine. That's what we do. What are you doing? You got a box and you're pulling stuff out? What is the... Dude, is that a Shatner mask? Do you have a Shatner mask?
A little on the fly, but I do indeed.
Yeah, so that right there.
I do have a Captain Kirk
Yeah.
mask. This is a recreation. The originals are very expensive, but this is the mask. They cut the eye holes out. They blacked the hair and painted it white, and that is the Captain, or that's the Halloween mask.
The Michael
original,
Myers mask, yeah.
The Halloween mask or Michael Myers. I also have a couple replica knives.
Oh,
so.
okay.
I just
Those are just replicas, right?
the fact that you mentioned it, and I just so happen to have one in arm's reach.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, that's where Shatner came up as we were talking Halloween, and Shatner was it's crazy because they were filming Halloween in the summer. There was not a lot of there was no Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
So they just went to Five and Dime. It's like, hey, do you have any Halloween masks? And they happen to have.
We have a Shatner mask.
They had a Captain Kirk mask, and so they doctored it up and got Halloween.
You gonna put it on?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Although I do think I might buy another one and try to white it up and
Try to make a Halloween mask.
make it. Indeed. Mike says Star Trek the original series is groundbreaking in its day. They even had a Russian at the height of the Cold War.
Oh, dude, I never thought about that.
Yeah, and that's
'Cause that's 60s, right?
yeah.
Wow.
So, Yeah, absolutely. Chekhov was that was a big thing, and
Wow.
I mean Uhura. I mean she's a
She was-
a
yeah.
black woman in the middle
Yeah.
of the civil rights era and stuff.
Yeah.
Not to mention the kiss. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I love to hear that. I've never been the biggest original series fan. I've
You're
been
a Next Gen
I'm a
fan.
next gen kid, but
Yeah.
I do love Star Trek. The original crew movies though, I fucking love.
Mike does point out Uhura was also an officer. That's unheard of.
Yeah,
At that time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next up, standout kill from 6 here.
Standout kill from 6. Let me think. I'm going through it in my head. Give me just go ahead and say yours. I'm gonna let you go first this time.
I do love the person getting stabbed through the face, nose. That was pretty good, just gore
The
wise.
professor.
Yeah, the psychologist.
psychologist?
Yeah, that was cool.
shrink?
Just because it's like
Yeah.
a type of, I don't know. I love kills that are kind of unique because you don't see that very often. Usually it's just like whatever. So to see it like that and then the gore they did with it was really good. So I loved that one.
The son. Tara killing the son killer through the mouth.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. And then twisting.
and then twisting it all
Yeah.
through the back of his mouth up into his brain and everything. That one was bad. I'm honestly disappointed. They would have got me with Anika on the ladder, but we talked about it last night. They missed their opportunity by not giving me a money shot with the guts because it looked
Yeah.
like she had been disemboweled, like cut, stabbed, and then cut up.
Yeah.
And then she goes out on the ladder and she's on all fours and everything like that. I was just waiting for her to fall off and hit and guts go everywhere.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that. We got a brain injury.
Pretty bad.
A pretty yeah, it was pretty bad, but it's again, we talked about this earlier. I had
Yeah.
expectations. They were
Yeah.
not met and I am disappointed.
Yeah. My next one kind of hand in hand, standout scare. It's for me it's the bodega or the ladder. So the
bodega was just scary.
it was tense as fuck. Like
He walked in there and you're like, what the hell? This is where he's supposed to disappear and they're supposed to look crazy. He walks in and dude, he ices 3 guys like no problem. And one of them had a shotgun.
Yeah. I and like it was shown in the trailer, so I think there was like some element of knowing that was coming. But dude, the tension of those 2 scenes, that's what I'm talking about. Like the
bodega and the other what was
the
the other
ladder.
one? The ladder.
Yeah.
The ladder was probably my favorite scene. Going from one apartment building to the other across a ladder that's laid between them. That was so tense.
Probably what 6 or 7 stories up too. That was up there.
Yeah.
That was a ways up. So, that's where like it really strikes me is like when in those 2 scenes, I remember thinking to myself, Scream has never been this tense before. Like it's scary and it is tense, but like this is a level of tension. It's not getting broken by jokes. Like this is just fucking tense. And I even saw some people tweeting where they're just like, I've never felt this way in Scream movies before. Like I felt exhausted walking out of it.
Yeah.
And I could see why.
Because you were on edge. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are probably the standouts for me. There was a lot of good
Even
stuff, but those 2 were just
Even the beginning of the alleyway. Why would you walk into a dark alleyway?
Yeah.
like- and then people scared her, and you're like, oh, okay. And then stab.
Yeah. Next up, and some of these I guess are more statements, I suppose, than questions. But I think Richie's presence felt huge in this movie. It felt like a cool jab at the fans of like Columbine killers or Bundy or Dahmer in the modern day, because we see the internet and people treating him like a folk hero or even a victim, and we're seeing it through Sam's eyes, who is a real fucking victim.
Which some people feel that way. It's like people idolize, these heinous murderers.
Dahmer
nowadays.
and Bundy and
Dahmer,
stuff.
Bundy
Yeah.
are big ones. I mean, even Bundy during his trial had fangirls showing up to the trial. He married one, didn't he?
And it happened again recently over the last couple years when they've done documentaries and stuff. There's been like all these women just like, and it's like, y'all realize like that's a fucking serial killer, right?
And he killed people that looked like you.
Yeah.
And do you know what he did to them before he killed them? Like, you don't want that.
So
no.
I think that the writers here did a really good job at like
that's that social commentary.
Yeah,
kind of
social
thing.
commentary, the meta nature, a little
Yeah.
bit of like it wasn't punching you in the nose because I don't think they ever pointed it out to you in a way.
Yeah.
But I think all you have to do is have a little bit of like plugged into like pop culture to know like that. The way some of these people are acting, and then to see like this, like, oh, you're kind of putting my nose in it a little bit of like,
Yep.
this is what society is doing. So, let's see. And then Carol says the original series is a statement piece for the others to follow. Oh, yeah, definitely. And then Mike says, I will say the earpiece did look a little uncomfortable. Yeah, I've always thought that.
And see, Carol says serial killers is a different kind of fandom. No thanks. See, I'm interested in serial. I'm not going to say I'm a fan. That's the wrong way of putting it.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by them.
I'm fascinated and interested in serial killers, but am I going to be like, ooh, I want to go see the serial killer because I think he's interesting? No, I'm not. It's just 100 miles isn't far enough away to be. If I found out that there was a serial killer active here in Utah and he's targeting fat white guys that look like me, I'm going to be like, peace, I'm moving to Florida.
Well, there's gators down there.
No, that's true. Peace, I'm moving to New York City. Wait, there's Scream Ghostface killers.
You're not safe anywhere.
I'm moving to Milwaukee. Wait, no, that's where people get eaten. I'm moving to Canada.
But yeah, no. So that was one thing I wanted to point out. Let's see. I'm not sure which Gale moment I loved more: hanging or putting the killer on hold,
That was the best.
or dodging the punch.
Oh, from Sam?
When she dodged, yeah, because I mean that's a classic tribute to the original, where she gets punched by Sydney. So I love ducking that. I don't know which is better. I love that. Which I'm gonna put you on hold. He's like, wait, what? And he's
What?
dude,
That was great.
I loved it. Gail's
great. That was probably my favorite part of the whole movie, aside from like kills, because kills always take top precedence when it comes to slashers.
Well,
and
Randy's speeches are higher than that. But
he's not in the movie since 3.
Mindy's since
good.
2.
He was in 3.
Well,
he was in 3. Don't you dare slander my boy. He was in 3. Yes, he was. He had a whole scene in 3. How dare you?
Yeah, I mean,
That's like saying Kirby wasn't in 6. Yes, she was.
No, but he was a video. He wasn't even real.
He was there.
He was in a video.
He was there.
I'm glad as a fan that he was. Even the video was there because I didn't want to live in a world of Scream movie without Randy. But I've gotten there. But Mindy though.
Mindy's great.
She's the next Randy. I know people
She's
are
Randy 2.0.
People, that's what people built Kirby up to being. That's why she's such a fan favorite. But I will say I love Kirby, but Mindy is much higher on my list of like favorite characters, which we're going to be talking a little bit later about favorite characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like yeah, I'm fascinated by serial killers like clinically, but overall, like for me, it's all. Let me just watch horror movies and talk about like fake serial killers, and I'll say I'm a fan because it's like it's all make believe and it's all for fun type stuff. But yeah, I did love that they kind of a little bit poked in the eye of people that are in that realm of like being fans of real fucking killers,
and also believe in like the conspiracy theories. Oh, like Bundy was innocent. It's like,
yeah. Sure. Yeah, no. Nonsense. Let's see. What else have we got here? Carol says, I'm in the marrying kind of fandom, Peter. No thanks. Mike says, Peter, there's more serial killers than you think. Most just keep their desires in check.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like that's fine as long as there's not one like active, and like BTK. If I found out that BTK, a type killer, was active here, I'd be like, I'd be gone.
You can just live on the road. Get a little
no.
Get you a little Rambler and just
no. You know how many serial killers or truck drivers, sir?
Or the True Knot. So one moment that really got me emotionally was while they're talking and the Dewey theme played.
Yeah,
that was hard.
Yeah,
that was
little like 4-note thing for him or something.
Yeah, it's his theme. I mean, it's been all throughout the series, but let's see.
Was Bundy executed live on TV?
I don't know.
Was he really?
I don't know.
I'm not old enough to remember that, so I wasn't born. Wait, it was executed in the 90s, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was too young to be watching stuff like that.
Yeah. Let's see. What did you think of the masks being used from all the previous films?
Oh, that was great.
I saw that coming, like in the trailers, and you saw the one that was all worn out and degraded. I'm like, that's going to be Billy or Stu's mask.
Yeah.
Billy and Stu, I always thought they had the same, but this one conveys that they had different ones. I always assumed they just traded them because why not?
Yeah.
But I figured that was from the original because it's like, how else are you going to get a mask that's all like wearing out? It's all cracked and discolored and shit. Like it just. So I saw that coming. I didn't know that they would go and do all of them. So that was interesting.
It was really cool to see that. Also, like trying to frame Sam by putting her license down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we understand now how it was able to be done because the cop was one of the killers. So
Yeah. And then Carol says, BTS killer is from my neck of the woods, as was Ted Bundy. I think I'm seeing a pattern here. Yes, the Pacific Northwest. If there's a heat map for serial killers through the last 100 years, the Pacific Northwest is going to be probably the brightest area in the country because there's a lot up there.
there's a lot up there. Green River Killer's up there. I don't know who the BTS is.
Bundy was up there.
Bundy was up there and then came to Utah.
Yeah, came to Utah, then Florida. So he ran the gamut there. But yeah, I've always wondered that as to why the Pacific Northwest has so many serial killers.
Because it's such a depressing place to live.
I mean, that's where Grudge came from.
That's true. I'm old though, but they talk about that because it rains so much that it does cause more depression.
It's kind of like those places that are so high up that there's like whole areas of time that they don't get sunlight for months. Like same thing there. You get depression and you get like kind of things that'll affect people. So I enjoyed the usage of the other masks for sure. I thought it was kind of cool for sure. It's kind of a cool way to tribute all of the films.
I love not only the mask, but I love like the whole museum where like I just spaced on her name. The one from 4, FBI agent. Kirby.
Yeah.
Kirby was like, that's the knife that stabbed me. And I'm like, oh shit, like the actual, oh damn, like, that kind of thing. Like, oh, that's crazy to see, like, they acquired all that stuff and everything. It's just like, holy cow.
Yeah, which is a good tip towards that a cop may have been involved.
I know, right? That's how they got it all.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So I also love giving Roman credit. I always tend to forget that Roman was alone. Every time I'm like trying to think of the killers, I'm like, God, who was the other one in 3? Then after a bit, I'm like, oh yeah, there wasn't any. But you just think of the pattern. But this one actually gives the tribute out for it, where it's like, Roman, the only one that did it on his own. So
yeah. Also 6, let's shout it out. First one to have 3 killers.
Yeah, indeed.
That's crazy.
So Ghostface has often been abused in various fashions, but I do not think anyone has ever abused them quite like Chad did. There at that last stretch, Chad was beating the fuck out of him, dude. I mean, Ghostface,
if there hadn't been 2 there to share out the punishment, Chad would have whooped one Ghostface's ass.
Yeah, because we've seen Ghostface get things thrown at him, thrown out of like windows. There's all kinds of. He gets, beer bottles thrown at him by, God, who was that in the first one? Was that
Tatum? Down in the garage, yeah.
Or it was out in the garage. It wasn't a basement, yeah.
She's got the bottles and she's throwing beer bottles at him.
So he's been abused all throughout, or I should say they, because there's both male and female.
Yeah, that's true.
They get the shit beat out of them all throughout the series. But yeah, dude, Chad fucked them up. I remember even just I gasped a little bit. I'm like, my God, I've never seen Ghostface beaten around like this.
Yeah,
like, this is insane.
And then Tara got that one good kick in too to one of their skulls, just like
yeah, it's.
And then Quinn took a brick to the face too.
Yeah,
that was pretty rough. You got to give them props for still standing there at the end.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out, you already kind of alluded to it, the first time ever we've seen 2 ghost faces.
Dude, that stand-up and synchronized knife wipe
was
one of the coolest things I've seen in a Scream film.
And it's synchronized stabbing. They were like alternating with their stabbing.
Yeah.
It was
row, row, row your boat gently tap the stream.
Yeah, that was insane for sure.
And then the stand, turn, and then in unison.
Yeah,
wipe the knife. There was no pause either. Like they weren't like 1, 2, 3. No, they stood. Whew.
Yeah. What did you think of the reveal? I mean, we've already kind of talked a bit about it. There's 3.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out another tribute to 2. It's family related.
Yeah. You killed my son. You killed our brother. My son and their brother.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
No, there's you don't see Roman until later.
You killed my son is Billy's mom.
Yeah.
You killed my son and brother is 6.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I thought you were saying son and brother with
because there's
2,
3,
and I'm like
3 killers, dad, brother, sister.
Yeah.
They would have different lines there, but being all pissed off and everything like that. I liked it because 3 killers was really just what the fuck, like really caught me off guard.
Unprecedented for sure.
The cop, I had no clue. Quinn, I had no clue. I suspected the nerdy kid from the start. I'm like, it's him.
And the fact they just kept calling him out.
Oh
too
yeah,
much, and
it's
I was
like
just
it's. I was like, So I looking back, I know last night we had a conversation with Hayden about did they give us enough clues and everything like that. I look back on it and I think that I realized that he was going to be a killer early on, and I just didn't want to accept it. So I think I'll give myself 1 out of 3 on this one.
And see, I don't really keep track personally. I remember trying to guess the first one, and after that, I was just like,
it's kind of the fun of Scream
like,
for me.
I'll have him in my head a little bit where I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe, whatever, but like, I don't like definitively in my head go, I think it's going to be X, Y, and Z. Because it's just, after the first one, giving us 2, I'm just like, there's always going to be some twists that,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
That's kind of the fun for me. Is it's not
Yeah.
like I get mad when I get it wrong. It's like, darn, it's like Mindy. Did I miss the monologue again? It's like, darn, I only got 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
But like, I was really proud of myself in 5 for figuring out it was the friend. But I missed the boyfriend. So it's like, oh yeah, I got the friend. Damn it, I missed the boyfriend.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a fun thing for me for Scream is to try to figure out who it is and see if I can pick up on any of the breadcrumbs that they leave, because they
Yeah.
do. They always do.
And that's where the great rewatch is too, is go watch knowing who the killers are.
And then picking up on like, I see what you did there. Yeah, I see what you were leading me on.
Like when I
with.
watch 5, right? Like there's one point when the boyfriend is going downstairs to get beers, and he says, "I'll be right back," and laughs like, "Oh shit, I just said it," But it's like he knows he's fine. It's just it's funny to go back and rewatch those and kind of see like
Yep.
Stu does it too, right? He's going down to get more beers. I'll be right back. So because he has nothing to worry about. So yeah, I love the reveal too. Again, I love the connection to 2, the fact that it's family related.
2 and 3 both had family connections, but yeah.
I'm interested to rewatch it and see if the some of the stuff we see with the daughter, if there's any reveal a little bit that like if you watch close, like maybe the pictures that you see is not actually her or whatever, like because they sent the pictures get sent to them all of her killed or
Getting
being
attacked.
killed. So there's that. I don't know. I also didn't suspect the neighbor because that was too obvious.
The boy toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was too obvious. So
I'm like, no, they won't do 2 boyfriends back to back. They can't.
well, because that's not even a boy. That's more just like a hookup or like
It was to the point
but
where it was almost a boyfriend.
I wouldn't have pictured him as a boy. But him, it would just they almost made him seem too suspicious.
It's almost too easy to be him.
Exactly. It's just like it's not going to be him, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I did love it all. It's kind of cool. I didn't save it. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I found an interesting. See if I can. I should have just saved it, or actually put it in the notes. But so this person's actually saying they thought it was too obvious that it was the cop. Because it's funny because last night you guys were saying you thought it was a little bit too out of left field.
Yeah.
A little bit.
There wasn't enough breadcrumbs there for us to be able to guess it.
Yeah, so this is what this person says, and I disagree with them that it's too obvious. Because obviously from our real experience, like, whatever. But he says, killer DNA being at every crime scene literally had to be a cop, so either him or Kirby would have, and they would never let it be Kirby. Which I said that too. They would never let it be Kirby.
Yeah.
He had a dead son who strangely is never named, and then he transfers to New York with his daughter. So, dead son, like, there's a connection there that you could make. They just... whatever. Sam getting a call from Richie's phone. Again, most likely a cop who can get a hold of his phone. In the interrogation room when he brushes Quinn's complicity under the carpet by vouching for her. Or complicity. Basically, he gets her off it wouldn't be her. And I was suspicious of that, too. Because I'm just like, just because it's your daughter, like, I'm not going to...
Don't write that off.
And
everyone's a suspect, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just because it's your daughter. I'm like, no, she might actually be at that point. I started to suspect her. I'm like, bet you she
especially
is.
since they're from Woodsboro.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they should know better.
Doesn't let Sam or Tara leave town because they're persons of interest. Like, keeping them in town. Like,
why wouldn't they have, like, police protection?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't put police protection on them, Tad.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they have cops all over them?
Sam is suspected of being the killer from a source inside the police. Remember the news? It gets reported from an inside source. And then also, last of all, fuck with my family and you die. So if you do make the connection that the dead son is the killer from the last movie, that line takes on whole new context when you go on a rewatch and hear that line.
Yeah.
Because remember, at that point, you think, oh, he's going to kill the killer because they killed my daughter. Fuck you, fuck with my family. I'm going to destroy you, basically. Like,
It's true.
so there's a lot of breadcrumbs for him, actually, which is interesting. So I love the reveal. It was pretty cool. Family, too. Like, not familial connection, but the fact that literally it's a Ghostface family.
Yeah.
4 members of that family
We're ghost
have
faces.
been Ghostfaces over
Yeah.
the course of the last 2 movies. So that's pretty nuts. First cop. There was some suspicion drawn on the sheriff in the first one.
And in Detective Kincaid in 2.
Yeah, because he puts the cigarette out and it has the same boot as the killer in the original. And because I always remember being like, dude, he's like 75 pounds overweight. There's
Yeah.
no way he can be Ghostface.
But also, like, Detective Kincaid in the second one, people are like, oh, it's going to be him.
yeah,
It's going to be him.
Yeah, I forget that actor's
Yeah.
name, but yeah,
Dermot.
Kincaid, the
Yeah,
actor,
Kincaid is his name.
in the movie. Yeah. So this is another note I had. This is possibly the least costly film in the franchise. Of the core friends groups that starts the film, only one dies. Annika is the only one that dies of the friend group that we start with.
Well, I mean, Quinn and the brother die as well. They're
Nah,
part of the fan group.
Yeah, but you don't.
The
you don't,
friend
You don't
group.
count killers.
Yeah.
Usually that core group gets fucking decimated throughout these movies. So this is a huge standout, but at the same time, body count wise, it's one of the highest body count.
It's got a lot of kills. Why is he not listed here?
The rest of the deaths are the professor, the 2 killers at the beginning, the 3 killers at the end, Gail's boyfriend and the psychiatrist, Quinn's hookup, and the bodega folks. So when you add all that up, that's actually one of the highest, if not the highest, body count of the series.
It's a lot.
Let's see. What am I missing in the chat? Sorry.
Oh, they're just chatting back and forth.
Oh, okay. So did you think that Sam and Tara did a good job of carrying the movie with less support from the legacy cast?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons, like I said before, that I was okay with Sydney not being there, is that it became more about Sam and Tara than about Sydney and how she's dealing with it and everything like that. So
Yeah.
I really was okay with it.
And like, let's be honest, I don't want to make excuses for them because again, they kind of fucked over Neve Campbell.
Yeah.
But remember in 5, she's not going to come.
No.
She only comes for one reason, because Dewey dies.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that she goes into that whole
Yeah.
thing. So I do love that a little bit, and without that cost thing bringing her in, it kind of is already established where no, Sydney's not going to come in. But again, I don't want to give them too much credit because it wasn't a creative choice.
Yeah.
So
I was wrong. Kincaid is in 3, not 2. He's the
yeah,
detective.
I thought that's what you meant.
I said 2, but
I
3.
I
It's
missed that,
Patrick Dempsey is the character.
Yeah, Patrick Dempsey.
the
Yeah,
actor.
I could picture him in my head. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was definitely 3 because
It's the one in Hollywood.
yeah, indeed. I think they did a good job for sure. I enjoyed them both in 5, not the original, in 5. But I think they really excelled here. And yeah, they had a couple legacy characters, but they were probably the least amount of legacy character input in the entire thing.
Yeah.
You know, like Gale and Kirby are your legacy characters, and they have their moments, but like
Yeah.
far and away, they're not really that involved.
No, exactly. It was
So-
mostly Kirby's hardly in it at all. I mean, Gale's in it. They're probably in it about the same
about
amount,
the same, yeah.
and that's not that much.
No, which
So-
which is fine. How did you feel about the comedic elements being reduced and the horror elements turned to 11? How did you feel? We already kind of talked about.
I
how,
loved it.
Yeah, me too. It's different than Scream's ever been, but I thought it was effective as hell.
It still was also very funny.
mean,
There were still a lot of comedic moments for me. I think
Yeah.
there was enough.
but a lot of the meta,
Hi, I'm going to tase you in the balls now.
a lot of the meta humor wasn't there. I think
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people are focusing on. Is that like that's a pretty core element of Scream throughout.
Yeah.
So to lose that is kind of big. But there was certainly some comedic moments for sure. But I thought it was good though. It was a different kind of Scream than I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
But I fucking loved it. I really did.
I love the hell out of
I
it.
can't wait to go see it again because there's some stuff like I'm glad we're not like ranking them
Yeah.
or like like whatever, because I do want to like sit on it a little bit, digest it a bit, watch it a couple times before like whatever. But yeah, I gut check though, I fucking enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Overall, what did you think of the film? Rank 1 to 10. Like you wouldn't have to rank it against the others, but just 1 to 10.
I give it a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, okay, my rules, I wanted to throw this out there too, because my rules of the rankings are if you do 1 through 5, it has to be whole numbers. Because if you're doing halves, then you may as well just do 10. And if you're doing 10, you can't do decimals because if then you may as well do 1 through 100, right?
Yeah.
I always pissing me off. People like, oh, it's a 9.7. It's like, then you're not really doing a scale 1 to 10. So scale 1 to 10 means 1 to 10, which puts me in a tough spot because I really think it's about 7 to 8. I would like to watch it again. I'm going to give it 8 right now, just based off the initial reaction.
Sure.
But on rewatches and really letting myself digest it, it could fall to a 7. But I really fucking love this movie.
Oh, it
man.
was so
I
good.
think it really does stand out. I think after some rewatches, I can't wait to see where it stacks in the series because I think this is one of the stronger movies in the series.
Carol asked in the chat and says, "Hey Tad, do you have a Freddy Krueger finger, knife, glove, or a scream mask?" Mike says, "LOL, Tad. These murders go to 11." I like that. You're talking about the brutality getting dialed up to 11. And then Mike says, "Carol, wrong question. No, do you have? How many do you have?" Carol says, "OMG, why asking because I don't see them behind him?"
Actually, no. As much, Freddy glove is something I have wanted my entire life. There is amazing replicas out there. I've just never actually taken
the trigger?
time to go and pull the trigger on it. I also need to figure out a way to like display it. I think I could 3D print like a hand that comes off the wall with the Freddy glove.
Oh, like it looks like it's coming out of the wall, like it does in one of the movies where like his face comes out of the wall. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, a scream mask I used to have. I think may have told the story. I don't want to go too long into it, but I remember way back in the day, pre-Scream, I got a Halloween costume as a kid. I ruined it because I wasn't allowed to, but I got into it and played with it way before Halloween. Ended up ruining it. That's why kids aren't allowed to wear their Halloween costumes before the day, right? I bet it's a rule for your kid.
Absolutely, and she hates it every year.
But I did get whatever costume I had that year, and it was like the day before Halloween, and we had to go to like Kmart or something, and dude, it was just bad. There was hardly anything there.
Yep.
And I ended up having to get this stupid ass fucking cheap motherfucking ghost costume. And I was pissed. I was just like, this is fucking, and I don't remember what I was dressed up as normally, but it was just bad. It was like, just like they, in the first movie, they called it a 5 and dime.
Yep.
It was just a cheap.
It's at every 5 and dime store.
Yeah. And like, and it really was like, it wasn't designed for the movie. People, because of the painting, the Scream, think that like the Scream mask matching that it was designed for the movie. It absolutely was not. It was, and even still, if you watch some of the credits, you'll see a toy company that gets credited because they still own. That was just a cheap ass toy mask. And so I had to address it as Halloween. I hated it. Fast forward a few years, that first scene with Drew Barrymore, Casey Becker. I should actually call her by her name. You don't see him. Every time you see him, it's a figure until that scene where she's looking up in the window and he's faced away and he turns. And when that happened in the theater, dude, my jaw hit the fucking floor. I'm like, that's the fucking mask I had. And I had thrown it away. I threw it away in like disgust. Because I was just like, fuck this mask, fuck this costume. I threw it away the second I got done with trick-or-treating. Because like, it's just a cheap fucking, basically like great value Halloween costume for a little Tad. But yeah, fast forward a couple years and they used that mask. And I was like, of course, I'm forever bummed that I didn't keep the pre-Scream.
Can you imagine if you had kept that?
Yeah. But I have over the years bought a couple of them. I don't currently have one.
Okay. You have to tell the story about the glow-in-the-dark Scream mask with you and your cousin and your brother.
That's most of the original, a lot of the early Scream masks were glow-in-the-dark. And yeah, what we did a few times when my parents went out of town. We lived in a condo at the time with 2 levels. And in the lower level, we spent probably 15 minutes covering every single light in the house. It was dark outside.
Microwave.
We were home alone. Everything had a light. We unplugged everything we could. Even so far as I remember getting duct tape and climbing up to the smoke detector because the little light on the smoke detector was flashing. We also kept the computer on because we played the Jason theme. The So I had to cover everything that was light. So literally it was pitch black downstairs. 2 people. I remember the first round, it was my brother and my cousin went downstairs and they could hide anywhere they wanted. And there was a bedroom, a kitchen, the dining area, whatever. Upstairs, a couple bedrooms. So I'm upstairs in the bright light, holding the mask to the light,
charging,
getting it charged up for the glow in the dark. And then I put it on and I went down to find them, basically playing hide and seek. But from their perspective, all they could see is this glowing green Scream mask just floating because you couldn't see the rest of the costume. It was just pitch black. And I would just go and like they'd see this mask floating around the room. And at one point, because also that Scream mask has those fucking screen eyes, which is really hard to see through anyway.
And then you're in the dark.
Let alone the pitch dark. At one point, I was like face to face with someone. They were up against a wall, and I was just cruising along the wall. And I was like, they had to hold their breath, or I probably would have felt the breath. I was that close to them, and I couldn't see them. And yeah, so fun, scary game. To play for sure. So a couple stories on that, but yeah, I want to get a Scream mask again. I'd like to get one that doesn't glow in the dark, because those do have a little bit of a discoloration to them because they're glow in the dark.
They got like the almost like the you can tell when something glows in the dark.
Exactly.
You're like, that glows in the dark.
It's got a little bit of a green tint to it. So I do at some point I'll probably buy another Scream mask. I've had a couple over the years. Freddy glove though, I've never, as a kid, they always had those stupid plastic ones. I always hated those because it just looks shitty. But now there's like real places that have real metal ones and shit. And like that's what I want to buy. Like a full on legit replica. Because yes, that's a killer thing to have.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have it.
Carol says, I think changing the name of the movie is a riff off the Scream, the painting, which matches the mask. What do you think?
Possibly. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know if I've ever really heard any story behind why they changed it from Scary Movie to, which would have been a killer title for it, because
that's what the spoofs are called.
Because it's all about horror movies and scary movies, and like the line, like, what's your favorite scary? Like it's really like, it's actually makes more sense called Scary Movie than it does called Scream.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it does have something to do with that. I do know I've heard a thing when they were talking to Wes Craven. I saw an interview with him where he was talking about when they were looking at different masks, they were looking for people to design stuff, and someone happened to find the mask that I had as a little kid at a store, and they bought it, and Wes saw it and he said, that's it. He's like, the Scream. So I think the title had already been changed by that point. And he's like, because the Scream painting is like, we have to use this mask.
Oh.
And I think he actually originally thought that they had made it for it. And they're like, no, I just bought this at like Walmart or whatever. He's like, no, dude, this has to be.
That's it.
Yeah. So I've seen an interview with him. So no, they probably didn't, but it was serendipitous that it all came together that way. But yeah, it is crazy that they are so similar. But yeah, that was actually a decision maker for the mask though. So the Scream, it was called Scream, and the painting Scream existed, and that was one of the bigger things that Wes is like, don't even waste any more time. Whoever's working on stuff right now, tell them to stop and throw it away, because this is it. This is our mask.
Mike, yes, you are correct. Isn't Scary Movie now the Spaceballs Hot Shots parody of Scream? Yes, it is the spoof for horror films.
Yeah. Also,
there's a whole bunch of them.
One thing I'll say is the curved eyes on that mask fucking hurt.
Yeah.
As one that's worn that mask a number of times over my life. Because, again, you just think of how you mold plastic, so it kind of comes in, and just they're really thin, and it just pushes up against your face, dude. It's so uncomfortable. It's one of the most uncomfortable masks I've ever had as a kid. That's another reason I threw it away. Dude, it was, like, painful, the whole trick-or-treating, so I threw it away and shit.
You're like, I hate you.
And then later after Scream, when I bought versions of it, I was just like,
oh yeah,
grin and bear it. And it's also thin down on the lower part, so it's not the most comfortable mask in the world. Not that masks are generally comfortable, but
no.
Let's see. So I do have to say that 5. This is my last thing before we go to the rankings. I do have to say that 5 was the love interest. 6 was family related. So if that's echoing the original trilogy so far, I think that Tara's dad is probably going to be the killer in the next one. It's going to be a relation to the victims.
What about Tara and Sam's mom?
Could be the mom.
Cut me off, I'll kill you, bitches.
Yeah, it could be. I'm just you watch them. Watch out.
You watch Family.
Tara and Sam. I keep wanting to call her Sarah. I think it's because Tara. Sarah. Sam and Tara. Their family. Watch out for them in the next movie. Or what if Billy had another illegitimate kid? like
that many illegitimate kids as a senior in high school. I mean,
why not? He was eligible philanderer.
Like Sydney's mom.
Yeah, like Maureen Prescott. Like she had another kid. It ends up being the other shoe that drops in the third movie. I'm just saying, let's look at patterns here. There could be some shenanigans afoot for number 7 coming out next year. So let's see what else am I missing in the chat? Someone went to Kmart. You're fired. Mike says, "LOL. Tell me you're above 40 without telling me you're above 40." I mean, yeah, Kmart. that was around still in the 90s enough. Like
It was around in the 2000s. I know it was because one of my friends worked there after high school. No, during high school.
It was like a museum in the 2000s, though. Like literally, I went to one once after, like in the later days.
In the late 2000s, yes.
And they still had like, I can't remember if it was a Dreamcast or if it was a GameCube. And this is like a decade removed from that being legitimate.
Like the test console that you can play.
No, for sale.
Oh, you serious?
They still had things for sale that were like so far.
Why didn't you buy it? Because why would I want it?
But yeah,
To sell it. Now it's worth a bunch.
well, it is now. It wasn't then.
Yeah, but come on, Tad.
All right. So, any other thoughts you have to add in before we dive into rankings?
No, I'm good. I loved it. I did. 7's a good number for something that I loved and I enjoyed it.
Oh, I just mean in terms of any other
Yeah.
input of like anything else you want to talk about or cover on
Gail
6 before.
Gail needs to absolutely die. We need to be done with legacy characters.
I will say I'm really shocked that both Gail and Chad survived.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I love Chad too, and I love Gail,
Mm-hmm.
but there was part of me that's like, really, they're both gonna survive this?
Yeah.
Like I mean, Mindy, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Mindy.
We'll see here in a minute why.
Mindy is a goddess, so she cannot die. She is eternal. But yeah, I was a little bit okay. Here's the weird thing. It's kind of multifaceted for me. So I was a little bit like raised an eyebrow, like really they both survived after being attacked. And Chad, my God, he was like Caesar was stabbed less times than he was, for God's sake. But the other side of it is going in. I will say I'm still a little bit bitter about Star Wars bringing in and killing off the classic characters in the 3 sequel movies. I get story-wise why, but I do still think I'm a little bit sore about that, to where like I am kind of glad they didn't just ice Gail because she's still around. Chad, that's a different story. He's part of the main new cast or whatever. Like kind of like Randy, I guess. He got fucked up pretty bad in the first movie and he survives, but
Yeah.
and Dewey. So I'm kind of in a weird spot where I'm like, I kind of raised an eyebrow, but at the same time, like if they would have killed them, especially Gail, I think I would have been pissed too, because it would have been just like, really, Dewey now fucking Gail, like now what? Sydney's come back for 7 to die too, like it just. So it's kind of a weird spot where I'm like, I don't know how to feel about it. It's kind of like a catch, but I do think I'm probably happier that she did survive, because I probably would have just felt like flashbacks to like the sequel trilogy of just like, cool,
Yeah.
Dewey, now Gail, now fucking Sydney's going to be in 7, and it would have
And
just.
that would have been the twist, is that Sydney survived 7.
But even then, 2/3 of it would have been. It's like, why bring him back to kill him? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's a weird spot for me, because I don't really know.
Yeah.
So I did want to mention that too. I didn't put it in my notes, but so next up now we are going to go over to the other camera style here, because we're going to have some stuff to talk about for rankings. So we're going to rank. I think we've already done this a couple times. No, we only have 3 episodes, so maybe once we did so basically we wanted to have 2 different styles of rankings that might be a whole fucking conversation. Like if we were going to do our top 10 horror movies, would be a big, full main topic. But we also want to have just quick and dirty, not long conversations. Not quick not long conversations. We may have a little bit of conversation, but just quick and easy, get through them. Rankings, we want to have those as well, and we want to maybe have that. And we don't have to have that themed either. These quick ones could be completely unrelated to the topic at hand, but this one just so happens to be the topic at hand. We want to rank the top 5 Scream characters.
Okay.
So starting with you, we're going to start at the bottom, of course, count down, because we're not Philistines.
Yep.
Starting at number 5 for you. Speaking of which,
Gail Weathers.
Gail Weathers.
She almost didn't make the list.
Really? Mm-hmm. I actually, honestly, as I was thinking about this, I'm like, I bet you Gail doesn't make Peter's list.
Are you supposed to be showing the results? Because right now, currently, they're not showing.
Oh, you know what? Because I didn't push that other button. Sorry about that. Yes, there we go. It'll transition now.
There we go.
Again, I'm still getting used to the whole dual screen
Yeah.
OBS with Dark Tower Palaver over the years. I've only ever used just the one screen thing.
Yep.
So I'm used to just pushing buttons and it already changes. But need to get better at producing on this show a little bit.
We're getting
yes, number 5, you have Gail. And I actually,
Yep.
prediction-wise, I was like, I don't think Peter will have Gail on there. I don't know why. I don't think you've ever said anything, but I'm just like, I bet you, it's not that you hate Gail, but I'm like, I bet you Gail doesn't make his top 5. So the fact she is here was a little bit of a surprise for me. I don't know why.
She wasn't on here. I had Kirby at 5, and then I got thinking about it, and I'm like, what has Kirby done for me? What has she actually done? Like, yes, she was in 4. Yes, she was in 6. Yes, she is a fan favorite. I liked her, but Gale, the snarkiness, the sassiness, and everything like that. Yes,
And she's
she's a
good.
backstabbing bitch.
And she's good at what she does.
She
Like,
is very good at what she does, but she's also a piece of shit for what she does. You know, you wrote a book about it. It's literally a line in your book that you're a piece of, like that.
Yeah.
Like, so detestable character.
Especially
stuff
after
like that
5.
is
She says she's not going to write a book about
usually,
them.
and then she does.
Let them die in obscurity, and
Yeah.
then she does in this one. I was like, ooh, that's kind of a...
Yeah, that's a. Ooh, you're a.
I think that's probably why. I think that's what it was
Yeah.
ultimately, is like those elements of Gale that are a little bit unseemly. That's why I figured you wouldn't have her
Yeah.
on your list. Not that you hate her, but I think those things in my mind would have been enough to like bump her down some. I was shocked when your list came
Yeah,
through. But,
I do like her though. She does have her moments
Yeah.
to shine.
and it's Courtney Cox's most iconic role for me.
It's that one or Ace Ventura. It's those.
Well, she's
Gale
in that-
Weathers.
she's
are,
in Friends too, isn't she?
she is in Friends, but TV shows are different. Than
I'm
movies,
throwing
so.
it up against Friends and saying, "Fuck Friends." This is her most iconic
Oh,
role
really?
for me. I mean, it's,
No,
yeah, it's Gale Weathers, for God's sake. She's a goddess.
no, but yeah, I mean, she does enough to make my list. That's basically what I'm going to say.
Okay. Carol says, I like Dewey because he's the underdog. And yeah, that's a good one to mention. Dewey will probably show up. But my number 5 is Mindy.
That low.
Mindy is...
You
dude,
literally just
she's-
called her a goddess and she's
only
fifth.
been in 2 movies. But I adore her. She's incredible. I love her. She's probably my favorite character of the new subset of characters.
Okay.
I'd put her over anyone in 4, like Kirby, and so that's where the debate probably would have come, is Kirby making the list or not.
Same with me.
I do love Kirby, but she's
Yeah.
6. She's literally would be
Yeah.
6 for me. But Mindy, dude, adore her. She's
Yeah.
she's so awesome. So yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, surprised you a little bit. You got her at 4.
I do.
So
I have her higher ranked than you, and you've been ranting and raving about her for 3 days now. So that's interesting.
yeah. Anything to say on Mindy for yourself?
I mean, you just said it all. She's great. She's Randy 2.0.
Yeah, she is.
So,
and related to him. I love
Related
that
to
too.
him. That's his niece, and
Yeah.
everything. I love that she constantly calls it back. She gives the lectures on what are the rules and
Yeah.
for the requels and the sequels. And
Yeah, her monologue in this new one was just incredible.
I loved her line in this one. Did I miss the monologue again?
Yeah.
Damn it!
But her monologue with the rules early on, and also the
Yeah.
her and Kirby thing. I've seen a few people bitch about that, but I'm like, dude, that was incredible. Just
Or her
bouncing-
and,
them bouncing back and forth with the horror
Yeah.
movie stuff, dude.
What's the brother's name? I keep forgetting.
Chad.
Chad. No, not her, not Mindy's brother. The killer brother.
Oh, Ethan.
Ethan. Her and Ethan, where she's just like, no, get the fuck away from me. You're
Yeah.
the killer.
Yeah.
I'm here with the real Ghostface, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Great.
She had
also
it, man.
her scene on the train, like I said,
Oh, incredible.
one of the best scenes in the entire movie.
Incredible. Yeah. Which I love that because, again, they did some cool stuff there because before that, you didn't really see a lot of the weathered Ghostface mask. So that was one of the first scenes because I remember even thinking, oh, it's not him because it's not the worn out mask. 'Cause
Right.
I thought that was going to be the shoe that dropped in that whole subway scene. Whether it was whichever train it was that okay? At some point they're going to see all these non-worn masks. At some point you're going to see the worn one and be like, oh fuck, now that's really
Now
him.
it's real.
Yeah, and when it didn't happen in Stab, it shocked me a little bit. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like I
Yeah.
thought it was just another tease out because it wasn't weathered.
Yep.
So yeah, she's great though. Next up for me, number 4, Dewey. As Carol mentioned, he's an underdog, but just Dewey's awesome.
Yeah.
He's taken a lot of abuse too. He had the knife throw, and the handle hit him in the head. He's been like he got beat with the fucking not porta potty, but the what do you call it, bedpan
Oh yeah.
in the last one. So or 4
4.
in 4, yeah. So he just
I mean, the worst thing that happened to him was in 5, though.
What?
When he got killed.
Oh, I mean, that's not humiliating, though. He's been humiliated quite a bit.
Yeah, where he has like the limp and 2 and everything from his wounds.
I feel like they just constantly do like just funny shit to
Yeah.
him, which is great. But I love David Arquette. Dewey is incredible. Love him. So next up, you have Dewey.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
No, basically, I mean, like, he's a lovable goof that turns into a badass. What's not to love about that?
Yeah.
Because I'm a lovable goof. One day I hope to be a badass.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love him. He and Gail's chemistry is incredible. I mean, obviously the actors ended up marrying after this based on this. They've since divorced, but they were married for 20 years or so.
Yeah.
They were married for a long time. But it was because of this movie. And so I think even before that, though, they had a chemistry there in the first movie I loved. So, yeah, good one. And then for me, number 3 is Gail. Got the big hitters, man. You got the big 3. That's what it comes down to. Ultimately.
I know what our 1 and 2s are. They're the same, aren't they? Are they the same, or did you flop yours?
Maybe.
Because I know what your 2 are. I just don't know what order they are.
So for you, you've got the man.
Yep.
Number 2,
The
Randy.
man, the myth, the legend, Randy. The rule giver, the one who stands up face to face with 2 killers without knowing it in the video store and tells them exactly what's what.
Yeah.
And tells them what they're doing and why they're doing it and everything like that.
You telling me that's not a killer?
Yeah, exactly.
After Billy walks away.
Yeah. Like, and then his whole thing at the house and everything, and then surviving and giving the rules, and then his part in 2.
Oh, yeah.
His death in 2 was also
And
memorable.
alluded to in this one.
Yeah.
Like, oh, in the open, just like our cousin got killed, or uncle, or whatever he is.
Yeah, uncle.
And I remember thinking that same thing. I'm like, Randy died in the public. You're not safe. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And you're literally in the van.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
So the fact that they actually called that was great, because I was just like wanting to point at the screen going, no,
Yes.
not at all.
Yeah, it's not one of those like, well, don't go in there moments,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Exactly.
So,
and then, of course, my number 2 is indeed Randy.
Okay.
So
I didn't know if you would put him at number 1. You love Randy.
So for me, and for me, like ultimately Randy, like I said earlier, I alluded to the Kevin Smith thing. Randy is feels like one of the first times I saw a character on screen that was so much like me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a movie nerd, like literally like one of my dream jobs when I was a freaking 11-year-old was working at Blockbuster or Hollywood. Like that would have been the ultimate job. I didn't end up working at a movie store, not a rental place, but like where you went and bought movies, Suncoast in the mall. I did work there for a short time, which was the fulfillment of that dream a little bit.
And then you realized you didn't want to work retail.
Yeah, but ultimately, I mean, yeah, what was I, 15 or 16 probably at the time?
Yeah.
But I just, he was the depth of his nerdiness, like coming up with the rules, like the shit he was talking about is the shit that me and my brother, my cousin would talk about on our sleepovers. We'd watch these movies and have conversations like that. So,
it's one of the reasons why we have a podcast is because of how much you love to talk about things.
Yeah.
I love to talk about things. That's why we're here. And this is a character that exactly exemplifies that for us. And that's why he's number 2 for us.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's not number 1 is because we have a goddess at number 1. Go ahead and just click both.
Yeah, exactly. I almost put him on the same transition for both of these 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, number 1, it's Sydney. This is her series.
She's the best.
She's a fucking badass. I mean, she's in the
talk
same...
Talk about character growth too.
And she basically is the same. Like I never really connect till just now. I've always talked about Sarah Connor and Ellen Ripley. Mm-hmm. The third of that fucking trinity is Sydney
Prescott.
I mean, you could say Laurie Strode too. But I mean, just they're fucking badasses, man.
It should be. There's the 4. There's your Mount Rushmore of the 4 badass chicks.
Yeah.
That set the precedent for badass chicks.
Yeah.
Is Sydney Prescott, Laurie Strode, Ellen Ripley, and Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 characters. So when people say like, oh, they don't like strong female leads, there's never been an action star that's been a female lead.
Who was that? What's her name?
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
She backtracked it and clarified. She misspoke, and
I'm
so
sure,
like,
yeah, and
like
I didn't
for her to say
there was no strong
there's
female
no
women
strong
before.
female actors in action movies, and everyone's like, hello,
yeah,
kind of thing.
Before whatever her role was in Ender's Game,
something like that. Yeah,
that she was in. I missed that whole wave of those like post-apocalyptic / futuristic movies. I missed all those.
I don't think it was Ender's Game. I think it was something different though. But
that's the one with Asa Butterfield is Ender's Game
and Harrison Ford.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But
those are the 4. That's the Mount Rushmore of badass.
Yeah, and for
females,
me, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the other show. I don't know if it would have fit in necessarily. But the reason that these badass women are so like great to me, especially younger me. That's why I love Sarah Connor and Laurie Strode and Ellen Ripley and Sydney. Sydney came a little bit later. Was because like growing up, my mom was a badass. I mean, she still is. And like I remember in like 3rd grade, like all the kids were having the whole like, all right, my dad will beat up your dad. My dad will beat up your dad. And this was not meant to be an insult. But one kid's like, oh, my dad will beat your dad's ass. I'm like, my mom will kick your dad's ass. And I wasn't saying that to like talk shit on his dad. It was just like, that was my first thought is like, my mom's the badass. And my mom would fucking destroy whoever your dad is. So
and she absolutely would.
Yeah. And so like, for me, those I was like drawn to those characters. Cause like, those are the first times I saw like, someone. I mean, a mom's an important person to like all boys, right? You look at your mom in a certain way, whatever. And I just never seen women on screen that looked like my mom in that way. Like the damsel in distress shit, like that doesn't
fit your mom.
Leia's the like my mom too.
Yeah,
you know, Princess Leia. I can't believe I forgot her. You know, you got these like strong, badass women. And so they were always important to me because that was the first time that I was able to see these characters and be like, oh, dude, there's my mom. Like that reflects my mom and whatever. So yeah, Sydney's in that same realm. She's a fucking badass. I can't wait to see her. I think she really fits Sarah Connor the closest because she does start as I don't want to say weaker, but she's a little bit more. She's more normal,
like the victim. Yeah, and then as 2 and 3 go, she's like, nope, I'm not having it. I'm gonna kick ass.
And then hardens and becomes the ultimate fucking badass. But yeah, I love all these characters because of that. So maybe there's 5. Maybe there isn't a Mount Rushmore.
Tad's mom. Mike says Tad's mom better be a badass. I bet she had her hands full. Damn right she did.
Yeah,
with this monster over here.
Oh, no, I don't know about that, sir. So that's our rankings. So let's go ahead and close up shop real quick. I guess we don't really have announcement things, but let's or I guess what we do need to talk about is our next time on Geekery Abides is going to be our top 5 fandoms right now.
Current, not all time, but we're going to be talking about our top 5 fandoms currently. Yeah, what are you into right now? What is your big 5?
Which, did we mention that we're coming back next week?
Oh, we didn't.
I don't think we did.
We didn't. Hopefully everyone's still here.
This is correct on the screen. March 18th. That is 1 week from today. We have a scheduling conflict, so we are moving what would be 2 week from now's episode ahead a week. So we'll be here 1 week from today, and then you won't see us for a couple weeks. But yes, join us next week. We're going to be talking our top 5 fandoms right now. We'll be here at 4:15 Mountain Time, 6:15 Eastern, and 11:15 Zulu. And then if you want to contact us, you can do that at tad@geekeryabides.com, TADD, or peter@geekeryabides.com. And then join us on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. I haven't done an Instagram yet. You can find us on social media at those places. Also on the YouTube side, please like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, especially subscribe. Because until we get 100 subscriptions, we won't know for sure if we can change our URL. Because if it's like Dark Tower Palaver, we had to wait. Once we hit 100 subscribers, I was able to tab youtube.com/Dark Tower Palaver. Right now, there's some question whether that's even a thing or whether YouTube allows that anymore. But if they do, we can't do that till 100. So if you are listening, please find us on social media, but especially find us on YouTube and subscribe to us. Even if you're not necessarily going to be a live viewer or listener, maybe you're just going to listen to it on podcast, but still do that. That would help us out a ton. And we'll be back in 1 week for our top 5 fandoms right now. That'll be a lot of fun. And I may have a closing argument for you. I know we're running low on time, so I didn't do it this time, but I have one for you.
You do have one?
So, yes.
Excellent. It's not going to be an every time thing. Sometimes it's not going to be, but absolutely, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm ready for my first go round.
Put
me in, coach. I got high school dreams.
All right, so we will sign off. I don't even know. I don't stay geeky.
Stay geeky.
Let your geek flags fly high, no matter what it is. If you like horror movies in March, fucking embrace that. If you don't, great too. But love whatever you love, and don't give a fuck what other people say. So
how can this be for the greater good? Shut it.
Geekery is for the greater good. So we'll sign off. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye, everyone.
Next week.